the sun dipped low. It painted the sky in oranges and pinks. Masha stepped onto the warm sand. She laid her towel down. Waves kissed her feet. Cool and refreshing. Inside her, emptiness awoke. Something alive stirred there. She lingered until the cat painted the sky in blues and shades. Cafe music played softly. Evening peace draped the city like a shawl. Have you ever felt life slipping away? What if one trip could shatter your chains and awaken a fire within? People swirled in the airport. They laughed and shouted. Masha boarded the plane. She found her seat. Watched movies in headphones. But she stared out the window. Tears welled. Like tears for a new tomorrow. The flight to Turkey carved deep. It was her third great journey. Stepping off the plane. A rush of warm, clear air struck her face. The scent of sea salt filled her nostrils. Spices danced in the breeze. Unknown herbs whispered of mystery. This was a whole new world. Bright shops lined the path. Viscous colors everywhere. Loud Eastern music pulsed. Women in vibrant dresses twirled. Men laughed heartily. Yet shy like children. Masha's eyes widened. She drank it all in. Her heart sang. The city embraced its visitors. On a lively road packed with life. Every meter buzzed. Pomegranates stacked high. Tea steamy. Smell of fried roots hung in the air. Golden domes gleamed under sunset. The world tasted different. Life pulsed under her fingertips. Raw and electric. At the hotel, a receptionist smiled warmly. He led her to the room. It overlooked beauty. Breathing in ocean views. Masha shut the door. Sank onto the bed. Loud laughter burst out. From joy, from quiet, from silence. She was here. In a foreign land. Never visited before. Alone. No guides, no maps, no boundaries. She stepped onto the balcony. Faced the sea. Dark blue expanse. White foam crested the waves. Salty wind tousled her hair. Warm like tender hands caressing. That night, children's laughter echoed. They danced wildly. Drums beat rhythmically. Eastern motifs blared loudly. Masha gazed in disbelief. This all real? Her reality now? Did fear freeze you back home? Can one night of dance melt it all? What would you do if worlds collided in your soul? The sand still warm under her feet. But a new storm brewed inside. Where would this wild energy lead? Onto the next sunrise? Or into deeper unknowns? Laughter faded. But the drumbeat lingered. A call she couldn't ignore. In the shadow of a stunning seaside escape, Masha felt an unexpected surge of life coursing through her veins, like waves awakening dormant dreams. She wandered the beach as the sky transformed into a canvas of blue and pink hues, painted by the fading sun. Imagine this, what hidden truths might a simple vacation reveal, forcing you to confront the ghost of a loveless marriage. On that first evening, the cafe's soft music drifted like a gentle whisper, wrapping the city in a serene shawl of tranquility. For once, she knew she lived fully, not just existing. Unlike her monotonous days back home, cooking, watching the clock, planning endlessly, she lounged on the warm sand, the sea's rhythmic breath soothing her soul. Emotions unfurled inside, releasing years of repressed tension, the harsh grip of responsibility, the weight of routine perfectionism. Her heart, once chained, now expanded freely. Could you ever admit life has slipped by unnoticed, filled with work, dust, and silent fears? She gazed at the horizon, where water met sky in a seamless, calming blue. Memories flooded in, of her estranged husband, two strangers sharing a home, silenced by big fights that severed their fragile bond. A door inside her had slammed shut long ago, locking away vulnerability. But here, under the salty air and lapping waves, questions bloomed. What truly brought her joy? Which melodies stirred her? Where would she travel without chains of fear binding her? Childhood ambitions flickered back to life, a forgotten spark reigniting within. Had you buried your dreams so deep that rediscovering them feels like meeting a long-lost self? A lightness emerged, alive and insistent, urging her to restart, to explore the world's wonders. The next wave crashing ashore seemed like an affirmation, inviting renewal. Morning arrived fresh and vibrant. Masha rose early, stepping onto the cool shore as the sun dipped into liquid gold. In that brisk chill, she savored warm coffee and sun-kissed bread, paired with the juicy pop of cherries, savory meat pies, and grapes bursting like forbidden fruits, a feast for the senses. The streets called next, narrow alleys alive with white cats basking on ancient stones, chai houses tempting with aromatic vapors, every block drenched in vibrant scents of spices and herbs. Life pulsed densely here, intoxicating and whole. For the first time in ages, she craved that fullness too. Pausing to inhale the earthy fragrance of pomegranate stalls, she wondered, if tethered to routine, would she still idle in her chair, staring at empty windows? Here, transformation beckoned, a thrilling unknown. What if one reckless choice could shatter the monotony, pulling you toward an irresistible new path? By day 5, the azure sky arched overhead, stars piercing the deep blue like diamond flecks. Laughter echoed as people embraced, dancing to pulsing rhythms on the sun-warmed sand. Emotion swirled like a tidal current around her. She stood amidst the crowd, heart thawing slowly. A clear revelation struck, no more sidelines, she wanted to plunge into life's core, actively shaping her story. Armenians and others watched in the hall. Delegates from Belarus clapped briefly before halting. Kazakhstan's representative sat poised, intrigued yet bemused. Kyrgyzstan's envoy observed intently. China leaned back pensively. You speak of fresh alliances. Fine. But why do these partners rely on loans, inspectors, overseers standing like stern teachers over your head? Why don't they build schools or lift you up? Because they're not allies for you, they're against you. You exist merely as land, a dot on the map, useful, not valued. Why bow to shadows that exploit rather than uplift? Murziyoyev paused, his tone unwavering, sharp as iron beneath frost. I'm no foe of Europe. With Kyrgyzstan, we strengthen ties to Germany and France, but we hold our identity. No trespassing. And you, Prime Minister, tend your roots like soil, for a tree rootless bears no fruit. The rain ceased unexpectedly. Journalists' lenses captured surprise and tension. In Soviet times, Armenian engineers collaborated in Tashkent, designing space tech, thriving in the desert. No divides, Uzbeks and Armenians united. Pashinyan stood stunned, his posture deflating amid the murmurs. Now, the crowd at the beach erupted in joy, tourists giggling, cameras clicking, children racing amid the chaos. Amid this whirl, a solitary man stood out, tall, broader in presence than build, exuding unshakable confidence like a captain who never faltered. The breeze tousled his dark hair, his skin bronzed golden from desert airs, bearing a silver bracelet gleamed, a pendant of tradition. Masha walked past in a fleeting moment. He turned, sensing her, their gazes locking with an electric pull. Her legs weakening as if anchored to earth. His deep, earnest eyes held no deceit, just serene strength, warming her like a hidden fire. A subtle scar traced his cheek, faint as morning dew, speaking of untold stories. What pulse-pounding secrets lurk beneath a stranger's gaze, ready to unravel everything? In the last part, the woman stepped out, awakening early to greet the shore's dawn, as sunlight gently rose into the cooling liquid hues of morning. She savored the chill with warm coffee and oven-hot bread, indulging in fresh fruits, juicy sweet cherries, hearty meat pies, and crisp grapes that evoked a cappuccino's richness. Have you ever felt a personal awakening collide with a global confrontation, where one man's words not only humble a leader but unveil the hidden chains binding nations? Brace yourself for a revelation that could shatter your views on allies, territory, and the raw truth forced upon the world, exposing humiliations that silence entire assemblies. The woman ventured into the city's vibrant quarter, where sleek white cats lounged lazily on ancient stones. Cafes beckoned with enticing aromas drifting from open doors, and every 100 meters assaulted the senses with new, intoxicating scents. Life pulsed there thick, juicy, abundant like ripe figs waiting to burst. For the first time in ages, the woman yearned to embrace that vitality herself, to feel truly alive and brimming with energy. What if she had remained home? She'd be slumped in a chair, sipping tepid tea, gazing blankly at the unchanging window. Here, though, fresh thrills sparked something electric within her. On the 5th day, she returned to the sea, where the sky arched in deep, fathomless blue, stars fading yet seemingly within reach. Laughter echoed around her, families embracing, silhouettes swaying on the sand to pulsing rhythms. Immersed in this whirlwind of human warmth, she sensed her heart thawing, melting away the frost. What do I truly crave? The query demanded. The answer flashed, crystal clear. Not to observe life as a spectator, but to plunge in as a player. She scanned the crowd, young revelers, seasoned souls, even giggling toddlers. They throbbed in a living mosaic, radiant, unguarded, cartwheeling through existence. Yet she lingered on the periphery, a mere voyeur. Then, an unfamiliar urge surged, compelling her to dive into the swirling center. Nightfall found her tossing sleeplessly, reclining in her chair, the air conditioner's drone mixing with far-off murmurs drifting up. Could she reinvent herself? Redefine her choices? Perhaps destiny hadn't lured her here for leisure, but to shatter her slumber. Deep within a 42-year shell, a fiery-eyed girl stirred, awakening. For the people. For the horizon. For her Armenians. Delegates shifted uncomfortably. Belarus dared a faint applause, then faltered. Kazakhstan lingered in his seat, brow furrowed in baffled scrutiny. Kyrgyzstan's envoy leaned forward intently. China's representative waved a dismissive hand. So, you champion fresh alliances and directions? Fair enough. But why do these supposed partners demand loans, credits, hovering like stern teachers over your shoulder? Why don't they erect schools, yet dictate your every action? The twist strikes here: true allies uplift, imposters merely exploit territory, reducing vibrant lands to strategic pawns in a grand game. He paused, his tone devoid of quiver, firm, icy, forging steel. Europe isn't the foe, we forge ties with Kyrgyzstan, Germany, France, rooted in self-respect, unshakable. And you, Prime Minister, view the heart as barren soil. What tree thrives without taproots? What harvest blooms without fertile earth? Pashinyan recoiled as if slapped by the tide, silenced on the glistening shore. Journalists' lenses captured it all, stunned gazes, indignant scowls. Memories flooded of Soviet days, when Armenian engineers journeyed to Tashkent, crafting space marvels, launching rockets from arid deserts. Collaboration reigned, no divides, just shared triumph. Then, amid tourist merriment, camera clicks, and playful chases, he appeared, a towering silhouette amid the chaos. Broad-shouldered yet lean, stance radiating unhurried certainty, as if destiny aligned perfectly for him. Breeze ruffled his dark tousled hair, skin bronzed like Red Sea shores. Cloaked in a flowing white robe, mountain embroidered, silver accents gleaming, he held a delicate white moth between his lips. She brushed past, fleeting seconds. Yet he pivoted, sensing her presence somehow. Eyes locked, and an anchor rooted her to the earth. His gaze dark, profound, held no deceit, no flirtation, just serene intrigue, a quiet assurance that ignited warmth within. Faint, elusive, it whispered of unexplored freshness. And in that instant, the ground trembled beneath her feet, as if. What fate now lurked in this stranger's shadow, threatening to upend her fragile rebirth? In the midst of rising tensions, delegates from across the region watched closely as bold words about shifting alliances hung in the air, sparking uneasy silence and fleeting claps that died down fast. Why did these so-called partners keep demanding loans, blueprints, and oversight, looming over you like stern teachers in a classroom? Why did none of these fresh connections build a single school for your children, instead dictating every move you make? Because those partners aren't truly for your people, they're using you. You're nothing more than a patch of land, a chess piece on the global board, a vantage point for bigger games, a stepping stone for strategies that ignore your nation's soul. Shavkat Mirziyoyev paused briefly, letting the weight settle. His tone carried no anger, just a steady firmness, unyielding as steel hidden beneath a frozen lake. We're not turning our backs on the West. In Uzbekistan, we're forging ties with Germany and France, strengthening those bonds, but we never lose sight of our roots. We won't let anyone trample them. And you, Mr. Prime Minister, treating your heritage like disposable soil, remember, a tree without deep roots isn't a tree at all. It's just driftwood, waiting to be swept away. Nikolai Pashinyan recoiled, clearly caught off guard by the direct challenge. For a moment, he fumbled for words, his face flushing under the spotlight. Journalists' cameras captured every twitch, one side wide-eyed in shock, the other murmuring in outrage. Suddenly, a vivid memory flashed through the room's charged atmosphere, pulling everyone back to simpler times. The hum of machinery in Tashkent's workshops during the Soviet era, the sharp scent of soldering iron and desert dust mingling in the hot air, Armenian engineers arriving with blueprints for space tech, hauling massive components across vast sands. We built side by side then, no divides between Uzbeks and Armenians, just shared sweat and triumphs under the relentless sun. But here, amid the echoes of that unity, chaos erupted on a sun-drenched beach far away, where laughter from tourists cut through the salty breeze like scattered notes from a distant melody. A few strangers chuckled at inside jokes, one darted behind palm fronds clutching a phone for a sneaky shot, kids scampered off with their mother toward the waves, their giggles mixing with the crash of surf, and in that whirlwind of carefree noise, a striking figure emerged, standing calm against the turmoil. He towered over the crowd, broad-shouldered yet lean, his stance radiating quiet assurance, as if time itself bent to his rhythm, never rushing him. A gentle gust tousled his dark locks, while his skin glowed with the warm bronze of endless coastal days, evoking tales of ancient mariners on crimson seas. Dressed in a crisp white shirt that caught the light like fresh linen, accented by a subtle silver chain glinting at his neck, he seemed woven from the very essence of the shore. She walked past, her steps light on the heated sand, lasting only heartbeats. Yet something shifted, he turned, as though sensing her energy like a pull from the tide. Their gazes locked, and in that instant, the ground seemed to tilt beneath her feet. A rush of warmth flooding her veins. Those deep, nearly black eyes held no flirtation, no pretense, just a serene curiosity, a subtle strength that wrapped around her like the evening's first cool whisper, stirring forgotten sparks. What hidden truth would those eyes reveal next, as the sun dipped low and secrets began to surface? Imagine waking up to a familiar routine, the kind that drags you through days like an endless loop, work, chores, silence and a marriage that's faded like old photographs. But what if one impulsive decision shatters it all? What if escaping to Turkey unlocks a hidden part of you, one long buried under the weight of fears and regrets? This is Masha's tale, a journey from emptiness to awakening, filled with salty sea breezes and the unexpected sting of new love. Earlier, Masha boarded that plane, heart pounding as the airport terminal faded behind her. She clutched her suitcase, feeling like a young girl again, stepping into an unknown adventure. The flight passed in a blur. She sipped water from a glass bottle, watched films through headphones, but her gaze flicked to the window, where clouds stretched like promises. Then, the plane landed in Turkey. Warm air rushed her face, carrying the scent of sea salt and exotic spices, the kind that make your soul hum. She stepped off as if entering another world. Bright signs in bustling shops, loud Eastern music, women in colorful garments, men laughing freely. Masha drank it all in with wide eyes. The city greeted her on lively streets, packed with vendors selling grenades of fruit and tea, the golden domes glowing under the sun. The hotel was an oasis. The administrator smiled warmly, handing her keys. Inside her room, Masha shut the door, sat on the soft bed, and burst into laughter, from joy, from shock, from the sheer relief of being alone with herself. She flung open the balcony doors. The sea stretched out, a deep blue expanse with white-capped waves. Warm wind tugged at her hair like gentle fingers. Night fell with children's laughter, drums pulsing, melodies drowning the air. Could this be real? She wandered to the beach, sandy grains warming her feet. Waves lapped at her soles, leaving cool dotted traces. Inside, a void stirred, not emptiness, but something alive. She stayed until the sunset painted the sky in pinks and blues, cafe music whispering softly. For the first time in years, she thought, this feels good. Not as fact, as revelation. Evenings here were foreign. No dinner prep, no checklists. Masha sat under the stars, waves breathing like a sleepy giant. Tension inside her unbound, years of responsibility, silence in her marriage, a big fight that severed ties. She slammed an internal door then, tossing the key. But now? On this beach, questions bubbled, what do I love? What music sets me free? Where would I go without fear? Youthful dreams resurfaced. A lightness bloomed, like waking a dormant self. "Can I start over?" she asked the waves. They replied with foamy kisses. Next morning, dawn gilded the horizon as she sipped warm coffee and devoured sweet cherries, meat pies, grapes. Exploring the city, she smelled fresh baklava, heard cats mew on stone walls. Vibrant life pulsed everywhere. If I'd stayed home, would I even feel alive, she wondered. On day 5, the beach hummed. Sky a deep azure, stars fading. People embraced, danced to upbeat tunes. Masha stood amid the energy, her heart thawing. "I refuse to watch life, I want to dive in." Couples and families swirled around, living fully. She craved to join them. That night, insomnia gripped her. Air conditioner hummed, distant voices echoed. Could I become someone new? Choose differently? Fate seemed to drag her here, not for vacation, but rebirth. A 42-year-old woman reborn with fiery eyes. Set free. Yet reality intruded during low tides, when doubt crawled like mist. What pulled her to the water's edge day after day? And then, amid the crowd, he appeared. Amir. Tall, confident, skin tanned like sun-kissed cliffs. She passed him, seconds ticking. But he turned, eyes locking, deep, no pretense, just quiet strength that warmed her core. He stood serene among chaos, hair tousled by wind, broad yet lean. A silver watch glinted, white shirt billowing. That glance rooted her, earth-shaking. What was this spark? Will she return? Amir asked softly, after moments shared on the echoing steps by the dark courtyard wall, waves whispering like ancient breaths. No vows, just possibility. Now, back in her hotel room, Masha stares in the mirror, heart racing. Why this flutter, like a teenager's before a date? Her reflection shows a woman awakened. Insomnia no longer haunts, anticipation does. For years, life mirrored gray routines, safe voids, days blending into monotony. Then, in this foreign land, she encountered him. Not flashy, not dominant. Quiet, like untamed seas, present, steady, unchanged by storms. Fresh. Exciting. She chuckles nervously, afternoons dreaming like holidays. Mornings bring the thrill, will they meet today? Happiness wars with fear, connections risk pain. But desire wins, faint terror banished. Past talks linger, dusting off her soul. He listened truly. No judgments, advice, control. Just heard her unmasked fears, hopes, dreams. In the cafe, his gaze pierced, not appraising, but seeing her depths. Beside him, she feels authentic, not poised, not polished. Real, with flaws and unspoken longings. This uncensored self? Priceless. But does this trust hold, or will shadows creep back when the sun sets? 5 minutes ago, something unimaginable unfolded. In the heart of the CSTO summit at the Samate Palace, Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev brought Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan to his knees with a blistering speech. Exposing betrayed alliances and forgotten debts, Mirziyoyev left Pashinyan speechless, his voice silenced by truth. But what words triggered this seismic shift? Stay tuned to uncover the raw power of one man's courage. Imagine finding joy in routine, yet feeling a hollow ache inside. Do you ever wonder if you're trapped in a life that's passing by unnoticed? The next day dawned with fresh energy. Masha awoke on her balcony, greeting the sun with unguarded laughter. Her smile felt genuine, no longer forced. She let her hair flow free in the breeze, embracing a newfound beauty without masks or pretenses. No chasing lost youth, she saw her age as strength. As the world extended its first touch, handing her a cup of tea, warmth seeped into her bones. No fear, no judgment, just a gentle awakening. It was as if a soft hand pressed against her heart, stirring it from decades of slumber. In that moment, a flashback flickered, the scent of fresh paint in her childhood room, brushes dipping into vibrant colors, dreams of becoming an artist clashing with practical fears, yet now, alive again. Masha realized the world wasn't just giving attention, it listened deeply. She shared her buried dreams, the artist she'd abandoned for safety, the years of fading invisibly. Surrounding voices buzzed with excitement. builders murmuring about investors and partners. But a sharp question hung in the air: what truly sustains your nation? What grounds your dreams when illusions crumble? Mirzoyev then addressed the hall directly. Your country rests on Soviet foundations. Banks built on our shared history. Infrastructure we didn't create, but you inherited and maintain. Power stations buzzing for 40 years. Storage systems still humming from that era. And now? You gaze at this legacy with contempt, labeling it mere past, forgetting it feeds you still, nourishes your every move. Could hate blind you to the lifelines holding you up? Mirzoyev shifted in his seat, weariness etching his features, not weakness, but scars from battling relentless envy. Why is it effortless to scorn the foundations you stand on? But envy festers deeper, revealing twisted truths. Tired eyes scanned the hall, filled with a long-waged war. Building anew demands solid ground, it can't float in empty air. How long can you deny the invisible threads binding you? This revelation hit like a tidal wave, forcing a confrontation no one expected. Yet deeper currents stirred beneath the surface. What if this wake-up call unleashed something far more personal? As the plane lifted into the vast sky, Masha gazed at the fading lights along the shore, her heart pounding with a mix of sorrow and thrill. She wasn't just heading home, she was carrying a bolder self, one who refused to shrink back into old routines. Little did she realize, their tale was far from over. Was this merely the spark of a bond that would reshape her world forever? Her pulse quickened at the thought. Back in the familiar grind, Masha felt like a stranger in her own skin. Gray clouds hung low over the city, the asphalt gleamed wet under endless rain, and the subway hummed with weary faces glued to glowing screens. She rose at dawn each day, sipped bitter coffee that barely warmed her, and trudged to the office. Everything looked the same on the surface. Yet inside, a storm brewed. The drab walls and cluttered desk no longer fit this woman reborn by sun and sea. Those first 7 days dragged like shadows. She craved tales of distant horizons, replaying the salty breeze and vibrant markets in her mind. She messaged him, her fingers hovering over the send button, heart racing with hope. She dialed his number twice, but hung up, breath shallow. His contact lingered in her phone like a secret promise, checked obsessively, every 30 minutes, even in the dead of night, when the city whispered outside her window. Silence stretched on. Not a single reply. It echoed like a slammed door, cold and final. Was it all a fleeting beach romance, lost among countless others? Had she imagined the spark in his eyes? Doubts crept in, cool and insidious, like damp fog seeping through cracks. Nights blurred into worry, her pillow damp with unshed tears. Why hadn't he reached out? The question gnawed, twisting her sleep into fragments. Then, on the 10th day, her phone buzzed sharply against the table, jolting her from a haze. One simple line glowed on the screen: you promised to return. Plain, emotionless, no emojis or flair, just a statement, solid as stone, demanding no proof. In that instant, joy flooded Masha's chest, warm as sunlight piercing clouds. She stared, breathless, rereading it until her vision blurred. She didn't reply right away. 20 minutes passed as she paced the room, hands trembling, trying to steady her racing thoughts. Finally, I remember. 1 hour later, the call came. Amir's voice filled the speaker, rich and resonant, like waves crashing on sun-warmed rocks, deep, pulling her back to that endless blue. How are you? He asked softly, a hint of play in his tone. Fine, Masha lied, her voice catching. Then, truth spilled out, honestly, missing it all. And this? He teased gently. Is it an invitation wrapped in words? She laughed, light and free for the first time in weeks. Their talk flowed like old friends reuniting, the distance shrinking with every shared memory. Laughter bubbled up, mixed with the faint hum of her apartment's heater. But as the conversation deepened, a new tension simmered. What if this pull led her to leap again, straight into the unknown? In the previous segment, we witnessed Masha's transformative journey to Turkey, where she rediscovered herself amidst the warmth of the sea and the vibrancy of a new world. Amidst laughter and the scent of salt-kissed air, a mysterious man on the beach captured her gaze, igniting an unexpected spark of connection. Now, as the story shifts back to a different arena, imagine this: What if one man's words could shatter decades of alliances, leaving a leader humiliated on the world stage? We dive into the raw emotions of geopolitics, where brotherhood clashes with betrayal, and truths unfold like the unexpected sting of cold waves on sun-warmed sand. The focus sharpened like a blade cutting through fog, drawing every eye in that charged room. The Soviet Union offered without strings attached. No debates, no interest rates, no burdensome loans weighing down economies. We built together, united. When armies needed experts, we shared people freely. When components ran scarce, Armenian engineers crafted equivalents from ingenuity alone. It was true brotherhood, forged in shared struggles. Yet here, in this tense agreement, Azerbaijan, Russia, and Armenia scribbled a line granting market controls to a strategic investor from distant California. Mirziyoyev paused, his gaze slicing through the air like a sharp breeze off the Black Sea, letting the weight of those words settle like heavy salt in the lungs. Suddenly, Mirziyoyev's voice rose again, firmer now, echoing the distant rumble of thunder over vast plains. I respect economics. I grasp the power of numbers. I've conversed with investors, from gleaming Germany to bustling Singapore. They come because they cherish Uzbekistan. They arrive for the culture, the resilience, the very soul of the people. This is genuine capitalism at work, but let's not mistake it for selflessness. He leaned forward, eyes locking on Pashinyan like a hawk spotting prey, the faint scent of tension filling the air. Transitioning to the personal fray, his tone sharpened, each word a calculated strike. You claim Russia interferes. But who supplied cheap gas when winter's grip tightened? Who fueled your energy in the chaotic 1990s? Who provided scholarships for students during lean financial years? Who loaned without crippling demands? Silence hung heavy, thick as the musty aroma of old books in forgotten libraries. Now, contrast that. When you turned west, embracing modernization with open arms, what were the terms? Behave like puppets on strings, slash subsidies to the bone, privatize state-owned giants. All under the guise of competition and open markets. But tell me, who's truly chasing those markets? Rhetorical daggers flew, leaving Pashinyan squirming, beads of sweat tracing invisible lines on his skin like silent accusations. Europe craves your markets, while the United States nibbles at supply chains. No one invests in your industries merely because you're charming. They'll buy cheaply and discard without a second thought. You lack the strategic depth, the roots to withstand storms. In that moment, Pashinyan's smug facade cracked, the hall's murmur swelling like distant ocean waves building to a roar. And Pashinyan, eager to deflect, shifted uncomfortably, his soft voice a feeble counterpoint to the ironclad assault. The audience's pulse raced, hands twitching toward phones, as revelations unfolded like petals under morning dew, each petal revealing sharper thorns beneath the surface. Imagine a world where illusions shatter in seconds. 5 minutes ago, in Samite, Shavkat Mirziyoyev forced Nikol Pashinyan to his knees. The Armenian Prime Minister launched into accusations against Russia, but Mirziyoyev's response silenced him completely. The hall shut down, cameras fixed on the moment. What savage words did Mirziyoyev unleash? Stay tuned, you'll gasp in disbelief. Did you know Shavkat Mirziyoyev humiliated a world leader with just words, turning a summit into a battlefield of wits? This isn't diplomacy, it's domination. Once upon a time, Masha's life was a monotonous loop, meetings, markets, reruns, late-night shows. Everything felt secure, untouched. But boredom lurked like a shadow. One morning, after closing her eyes tightly, memories flooded in of Dad, his voice promising escapes to the sea. Turkey whispered warm and inviting, like a forbidden kiss. Without hesitation, she booked flights, packed essentials, heart pounding with excitement. Fingers trembled as she entered her details, not from fear, but from love's thrill. A light dress resurfaced, forgotten yet vivid, like the spark of a first crush. Days till departure dragged in sweaty anticipation. Bags overflowed with clothes, suitcases, swirling thoughts, no turning back. She laughed alone, smiles bubbling from within. Clouds parted, painting a rainbow of possibilities. What's the one decision that can shatter your comfy cage and ignite your soul on fire? On departure day, Masha clutched her suitcase at the airport, feeling reborn, a wide-eyed girl embarking on a fresh chapter. Sunbeams danced through terminals. Laughter echoed like distant bells, people swirled in joyful chaos. She boarded, donned headphones, gazed out the window, tears tracing a hopeful horizon. Touching down in Jägerlich, so precise that year turned out to be a fresh start, the warm sea air embraced her skin, salty scents mingling with exotic spices, scents of herbs awakening unknown worlds. This place vibrated differently, bustling bazaars alive with colors, thumping music from alleys, women in colorful robes, men grinning like boyish adventurers. Her eyes widened, senses ignited. The city pulsed on lively streets packed with energy, grenades heavy with teas, spice aromas swirling, golden domes reflecting fiery sunsets. Life here tasted like a pulsing heartbeat, alive under fingertips. When was the last time you stepped into a reality that felt too vivid to believe, leaving your old world in the dust? At the hotel, a warm smile from the manager guided her to a cozy room, view stealing her breath. Masha slammed the door, collapsed onto the bed, laughter erupting from pure joy. Silence amplified happiness, she was alone, untethered in this uncharted land. From the balcony, the sea stretched deep blue with white wave veins, wind tousling her hair like tender caresses. Nighttime brought childlike giggles, bonfires crackling, drums booming in rhythmic motifs. She watched, incredulous at this surreal reality. Down at the beach, she laid out a towel, feet sinking into warm sand's grainy hug. Waves lapped gently, cool traces recurring, stirring depths where emptiness once reigned. Sandcastles melted as the sky blushed blue, pink, violet hues. Cafe melodies softened the dusk, peaceful like a draped shawl over the city. Life whispered its secrets, it was meant to be. For years, this felt not just true, but epiphany. Evenings transformed, roaring waves replaced routines. Masha forgot clocks, plans, chores. She lounged on the sand, sea sighing in rhythm, her burden dissolving. It felt like her guarded heart, encased in years of silent duties, now loosening its grip. Horizon blurred water into sky, vast yet serene. She pondered, when did I last just exist, no expectations tugging? Home blurred into a haze of chores, fears, a marriage once vibrant, now a silent divide after breaking storms. She'd locked away a piece of herself, key lost forever. Waves answered, rediscover passions, explore without dread. Light flickered inside, reviving a lost self. Awaken, embrace the globe. Could one simple trip peel away years of numbness, revealing the woman you were always meant to be? Dawn broke, and Masha ventured out. Sunrise poured warmth like liquid gold. Seashore sips, strong coffee, sun-baked bread, fresh fruits, sweet cherries bursting, savory pies, crisp grapes. Streets teemed with nesting cats, ovens scenting baked goods, zesty spices every step. Vibrant chaos engulfed her, finding her own pulse. Doubts crept, at home, monotony ruled. But here, every breath felt electric. By day 5, oceanside oasis enchanted, sky azure, waves azure, stars peeking above. Laughter rippled, embraces shared, bodies swaying to rhythm. Her heart thawed slowly amid swirling emotions. Questions flowed, to watch or to dive in. Spectators versus participants, she yearned to leap into life's current. Surrounding faces glowed, youth, elders, couples, families, immersed fully. She lingered on the edge, temptation building to center stage. Can a solitary night unravel the fabric of your life, forcing you to choose destiny instead of default? That night, sleepless, air conditioner humming, distant voices fading. Thoughts swirled, become anew, select paths. Fate dragged her here not for leisure, but awakening. At 42, eyes ignited with girl's fire, for love, for futures, for Armenian roots. Delegates stirred in surprise. Belarus clapped briefly, halting. Kazakhstan's leader observed curiously, mind abuzz. Kyrgyzstan's rep watched intently. China pulled back hands. Mirziyoyev paused, new alliances? Fine. But why do they weigh you down like schoolmasters, assessing every move? No schools built by them, only judgment. Allies for their gain, you merely strategic land, nameless, voiceless. Is it possible that allies exploit your soul, turning allies into oppressors? He paused, tone firm, unrelenting. I embrace Europe, Kyrgyzstan, growing ties with Germany, France, yet honor our roots, forbid betrayal. You, Prime Minister, treat your land as mere turf, but rootless trees wither. Armenians arrived in Tashkent during Soviet days, building space tech amidst desert challenges. No divides, we united as comrades. Flashback, smoke smeared in nostrils, metallic tang of equipment, engineers' boots scraping sandy ground, laughter over shared meals, harsh sun scorching skin. Armenians and Uzbeks as one. Tourists chuckled, cameras flashed like firecrackers. Children raced amid sand and rocks. Chaos dominated, until a solitary figure loomed, tall, broad-shouldered, unshakable. Wind tousled his ebony hair, skin bronzed like desert seasides. He wore white linen, silver emblem gleaming. She passed fleetingly, then he sensed her, eyes locking, electric, grounding. His gaze held no pretense, just serene strength, warming her core. Where do you launch startups without industrial bases? What anchors them? Stable energy, logistics, real output, or they'll crash and burn. Past is your foundation, not fleeting trends. Accept that. Not against tech or IT, admire China, India, they toiled with iron, machines, decade-old labs, no quick grants. Mirziyoyev fixed stern eyes. We chase fads, build tech parks sans machines, hackathons devoid of substance, fund student projects with foreign dollars, decoration, not growth. Turkmen delegates nodded somberly. We forged states with heavy bricks, factories real, powering lights, water for homes. When our station launched, it was survival, not buzz. Laughter faded. Economic miracles unravel as illusions. Hall silenced, every twitch betraying unease. Economy can't float on fantasies, startups aren't sustenance. 5 minutes ago, what unimaginable unfolded? In Samite, Shavkat Mirziyoyev humbled Nikol Pashinyan mid-accusation. Silence engulfed, cameras frozen. His parting shot, no bread from air. What next, will alliances crumble? Stay with me to uncover the fallout. In the heated chamber, laughter echoed briefly as the speaker mocked the so-called economic miracle, but silence gripped the room like a vice. He turned to his colleagues, declaring that true prosperity can't float on empty promises. Startups might sparkle, yet they offer no real sustenance, no solid ground like daily bread. Imagine this, a grand hall buzzing with diplomats from across the region, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and fresh coffee from morning sessions. Tension hums like distant thunder. Shavkat Mirziyoyev stands tall at the podium, his voice steady, cutting through the murmurs. But wait, is this just politics, or the unraveling of a nation's soul? What if one bold statement could shatter alliances forever? This isn't some cozy home, he begins, his words slicing sharp. It's not a quiet path winding through ancient woods. No, everything here stems from raw industry, the kind that demands sweat and steel, not dreams alone. The delegates shift in their seats, leather creaking under them, the faint echo of his footsteps on the marble floor amplifying the weight. Can you feel the chill of that truth settling in, like frost on exposed skin? For industry to thrive, people must toil relentlessly. It's not effortless melody from piano keys. It's calloused hands gripping tools, minds sharp as blades, hearts stung by the fire of effort. His gaze locks on Nikolai Pashinyan, the Armenian leader, whose face tightens like a storm cloud. And in this raw reality, Nikol Vavaevich, we have no use for hollow gestures from you. What we crave is trust in our own strength. In the power of our labor. He pauses, the silence stretching taut, broken only by a soft cough from the back row. Why does that hesitation feel like the calm before a devastating wave? I speak plainly, perhaps too bluntly, Mirziyoyev continues, his tone unyielding, eyes reflecting the hall's dim lights like polished obsidian. Today, when you chase funds stamped with logos from distant San Francisco boardrooms, you don't gain true progress. You inherit chains, directives that turn nations into mere cogs. The room stirs, a delegate from Mongolia leans forward, whispering urgently to his aide, the rustle of papers like whispers of doubt. Pashinyan's fingers drum lightly on the armrest, a subtle rhythm of unease. You morph into squares on a spreadsheet, experiments in some sterile lab. But sovereignty? That slips away. You become the experiment, the glossy facade for outsiders' games. Murzieyev's stare pierces directly, not with anger's heat, but with the cold firmness of unshakable conviction. What hidden fear does that gaze awaken in the leader across the aisle? Then picture this nightmare for your heirs, he presses on, voice dropping low, evoking the metallic tang of worry in the air. Your children toiling in the shadow of foreign legions, subsidiaries of vast digital realms, not as free citizens, but as faceless users, clicks in someone else's empire. Gasps ripple through the crowd, the Mongolian delegate nods slowly, while Kazakhstan's representative averts his eyes, the weight of implication hanging heavy like humid night air. Some heads turn, whispers building like a rising tide. The Kyrgyz observer watches intently, the Chinese envoy withdrawing his hand from the table with deliberate calm. They sense the shift. Could this be the twist that redefines borders? Do you grasp what forges a mighty state? Mirziev demands, his question hanging like smoke from a forge. It's endurance. Reliable power surging through veins of infrastructure. Self-sufficient supply lines, humming with purpose. Homegrown factories belching the scent of fresh forged metal. And above all, a shared history that binds like unyielding roots. Without those foundations, he warns, everything else dissolves into froth, bubble after bubble, no matter the label. Call it digital innovation, green initiatives, eco-friendly visions. But if it lacks a bedrock platform, the first storm will topple it all. Pashinyan flushes, the hall's air growing thicker, laced with the faint aroma of tension sweat. The leader seems rooted, yet cracking beneath the surface. How deep does this fracture run? And finally, the heart of it all, economy. Mirziev leans in, his words pulsing like a heartbeat. This isn't cold figures flashing on capital screens. It's the quiet dignity blooming in a worker's chest when he crafts something vital, the engineer's pride in a flawless blueprint, the factory's hum affirming its output matters. The delegates lean closer, drawn by the vivid pulse of his imagery. You can almost hear the clank of machinery, smell the oil-slicked workshops. When a business leader mirrors that integrity, fueling triumphs from within, his influence swells, not just in boardrooms, but across realms like Austria's vibrant markets. He gestures broadly, the microphone catching a faint echo. Pour billions into ventures, yes. But absent faith in your homeland, without the thunder of assembly lines, the earthy pulse of soil under collective feet, the vibrant throb of a united people, you won't shape tomorrow. You'll merely launch fleeting sparks. He flicks the microphone back on with a decisive click, the sound slicing the hush. And once more, profound quiet descends, broken only by the subtle creak of chairs as bodies shift, minds reeling. What explosive retort brews in Pashinyan's silence, ready to ignite the chamber? In the heated exchange, Shavkat Mirziev challenged Nikolai Pashinyan on chasing flashy ideas over real needs, reminding him that people crave stability like daily bread, not empty promises that erode their independence. The room tensed as Mirziev's words hung heavy, exposing the fragility of alliances built on fleeting trends. Journalists held their breath, no interruptions. The camera operator sharpened the lens, capturing every flicker. Mirziev stared straight into it, his gaze unyielding, like a storm gathering over distant mountains. Back home, he began, voice steady and deep, echoing through the vast hall, we had this moment that stuck with me. A young fellow, full of fire, suggested shutting down an old brick factory. Called it outdated, inefficient. In its place? A shiny incubator for startups. Vibrant dreams, right? But I looked at him and asked, what will you build those startups from? Thin air? Magic whispers? The young man's face crumpled, shoulders slumping under the weight of reality. Yet his eyes, they burned with that stubborn spark, refusing to dim. It hit Mirziev then, the raw truth. A factory, he pressed on, words slicing the air like cool steel, that's the real foundation. It bakes the bread, fills the bowls with nourishing stew, stocks the shelves and sets the table for families. Grants? They're chains in disguise. Demands, calculations that bind you tighter, ending in surrendered freedom, piece by piece. Mirziev eased back to his seat, no stumble, no retreat. He moved like a master builder laying the final stone in a towering wall, solid, deliberate. Unbreakable. The instant he sat, the hall exhaled, as if an unseen storm cloud had lifted. Applause erupted from the shadows, thunderous and raw, a non-partisan roar shaking the foundations. It wasn't politics, it was victory, pure and primal, vibrating through the walls like a heartbeat rediscovered. Pashinyan averted his eyes once more, gaze drifting like smoke from a dying fire. In that fleeting second, the leader shed his polished mask. He wasn't the power broker anymore, just a man glimpsing the chasm. Chasing trends doesn't forge strength, it hollows the soul. The event slipped its formal chains, transforming into something fiercer, an arena where glances carried divine weight, not scripted lines. Eyes across the room shifted, faces softened in quiet revelation. No more frantic notes or whispers, they simply absorbed it all. Words had piled high enough, truths now etched deep, undeniable. As Shavkat's final words faded, the hall plunged into a profound hush, heavy as winter fog rolling over ancient plains. Rare, this silence, no rush to applause, no scripted close. Change stirred instead, deep, aching, essential, like roots cracking stone. And from that quiet, a voice rose softly, no fanfare, no rehearsed polish. Calm, low, almost a murmur, yet laced with unshakable resolve you rarely hear in official tones. It came from the far side, cutting through like a hidden river. The delegate from the People's Republic of China. What secret alliance might he unveil next, and how will it shatter the fragile balance? In the previous segment, the Indian delegate praised Shavkat Mirziyoyev's leadership, saying India respects those rooted in ancestral wisdom. They called discomfort a path to purpose, warning that ignoring one's land erodes its core. Mirziyoyev embodies true guidance, not commanded but followed organically. Have you ever wondered what real strength looks like? Not the kind that boasts or bullies, but the quiet fire that turns heads in a crowded room, forcing even foes to their knees. Here's the shocking twist. In a hall where whispers could shatter alliances, Mirziyoyev's words ignited a storm of support, leaving Pashinyan isolated like a pawn in a game he thought he controlled. How far could one man's truth drag the world into reckoning? The Indian representative leaned forward, respect gleaming in his eyes. He honored the Uzbek president for remembering nations not just in rhetoric, but in deeds. We sense this vital force. Nostalgia as energy. It doesn't erode, it nourishes. He paused, gathering breath. Then continued. The USSR wasn't perfect. Far from an ideal empire, nor a colossal blunder. Yet, it achieved so much. Built worlds we inhabited together. This lingers in our Delhi memories. When India faced hardship, aid arrived from Moscow. From the east, steadfast. His tone remained soft, but struck like a hammer on rock. Honest. Unadorned. Stripped of diplomatic veneer. A ripple stirred the room. Delegates once detached, now exchanged glances. A subtle urgency rose. Like breeze ruffling a still lake's surface. Sparks of defiance against the silence. Then arose the Belarusian envoy. Sturdy. Aged like oak. Broad-shouldered, bearing the weight of winters. He bypassed the microphone. Simply stood, voice cutting like a soldier's oath. I won't linger long. Just speak plainly. As family. Victories aren't trophies to display. We enshrine them deep within. Here's the key, this Uzbek brother? No mere politician. Genuine. Uncomplicated. Devoid of deceit. Free from hostility. His words pierced gently, yet profoundly. Pashinyan sat frozen. Shadowed and diminished. Vanishing physically and symbolically. Murmurs swelled from across the chamber. Support echoed, defiant whispers challenging the status quo. But the shift didn't end there. The Serbian delegate rose once more. His voice gravelly, echoing old Belgrade streets. Balconies adorned with blooms, scars from NATO strikes. We recall those who brought sustenance, not threats. Allies who stood beside us. When Europe turned hostile, true friends emerged. Mirziyoyev spoke bluntly, not conveniently, but crucially. He shattered the facade. The world has forgotten honesty. Games of words substitute truth. He named reality directly. Pure courage. Tension coiled tighter, eyes darting. Would this unity fracture the summit? Or pave a path to unexpected upheaval? Clutch gripped the air, thick with unspoken revolutions. Who would shatter next? And what hidden alliances lay fractured beneath the surface? Could you imagine a world where diplomacy crumbles before your eyes? 5 minutes ago, something unimaginable unfolded right among world leaders in Samarkand. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the forceful Uzbek president, forced Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan of Armenia to his knees in a verbal showdown. As Pashinyan accused Russia, Mirziyoyev silenced the hall with a single response. Cameras froze on the moment, the room went dead. What explosive words did Mirziyoyev unleash? Stay tuned, and you'll reel in shock. Does power corrupt or ignite? Dive into witness betrayal that shakes nations. Part 1. In the quiet rhythms of daily life, meetings, markets, nighttime TV, stability feels like a cage. But one ordinary morning, change whispered through Masha's thoughts. Eyes closed, she envisioned Turkish shores, warm and beckoning, pulling her from monotony's grip. Would inertia claim her future, or would she seize the unknown? The sea's call felt vital, urgent. So, on a whim, she booked her ticket. Hands trembling, she packed lightly, a forgotten sundress, passport clutched like a promise. The week before departure dragged on, sweat soaking into her plans, but no doubts crept in. As airport lights glittered, she felt reborn, a girl's innocence surging. Plane soaring, headphones in, films blurred, Masha stared out, tears tracing joy's edge. Touchdown brought salty air, sun-kissed chaos, tasting freedom for the first time. Cheery crowds, spices mingling with sea breeze, shifted her world. The hotel welcomed her with a smile, room overlooking endless blue waves. Laughter bubbled up, pure release. Here, alone. No crutches, she belonged to the moment. Wind-tousling hair, distant drums pulsing from night markets, reality sharpened. Braving the beach, sand warm under feet, waves' cool kiss awakened dormant life within. As skies bled into pinks and purples, cafe music soothed, she breathed calm no home could match. What hidden fears does solitude unearth? Heart pounding from beach reverie, Masha pondered emptiness. Flashback, childhood summers, sun-dappled grass beneath bare feet, laughter echoing through tire swings, father's hand guiding hers to catch fireflies, glow in palms, earthy scent of dusk, warmth fading as innocence slipped away. Sitting seaside, responsibilities weight lifting, she questioned desires long buried. What tastes thrilled her? What path lay uncluttered by fear? Youthful dreams revived, a spark igniting. Choosing anew felt daunting yet thrilling. A wave's crash seemed affirmation, renewal possible. But as night fell, unease lingered. Could she shatter old chains? Cliffhanger, tomorrow beckoned exploration, yet doubts gnawed like distant thunder. Part 2, dawning rich in promise, Masha stepped out early, coffee's bitter steam tempering salty warmth, fresh fruits bursting on lips, cherries tart, grapes juicy. City streets hummed with life, stray kittens nuzzling stones, markets buzzing. Here, vitality flowed unafraid. For once, she yearned to join the pulse. Home's routine taunted, what if stasis had already won? Yet this trip bloomed like a secret bloom. Fifth day arrived, sky a cerulean vault, waves roar drowning hesitance. Laughter erupted around her. Hips swaying to rhythmic beats, heart thawed slowly. Was she spectator or star? Eyes scanning joy-filled faces, young, entwined couples, tiny figures chasing solace, she ached for immersion. Night's stillness amplified the plea, transform into the woman she'd forgotten. Was fate's nudge toward awakening? 42 years stripped, a vibrant child emerged anew. For a rugged stranger she'd glimpsed on shore, tall, confident, gaze piercing like ocean depths, intense eyes met hers, a jolt shaking foundations. Who was this enigma promising disruption? Echoing yesterday's beachwood pull, Mirziyoyev's storm regained focus, hall silent, eyes probing. Delegates' murmurs died, Belarusian applause fizzled oddly. Kazakh glances sharpened with intrigue. Kyrgyz observers leaned in. A Chinese hand lowered subtly. You prattle of fresh alignments, alliances gilded? Fine. But ponder, why do these partners burden you with debts, judgments, not lifting schools, only dictating decorum? They're not allies for you, you're mere territory, a pawn in their grand game. No hatred for Europe, ties flourish with Kyrgyz, German, French roots, but we hold our ground, unyielding. You, Premier, treat heritage like dirt, trees need roots or wither. Iron resolve in Mirziyoyev's pause chilled the room. Soviet-era echoes, Armenian specialists in Tashkent, crafting space dreams amidst sands, no divides, just shared toil. Unexpected alliance memories humbled Pashinyan, waves of reporters capturing every flicker. Were forbidden truths weapons in disguise? Silence hung heavy, translations fumbling power's verbal blow. What dark reckoning would Pashinyan face next? Cliffhanger, as hands returned to invisible air, a gesture suspending destiny. We don't dwell in yesterday, we build upon its solid earth, unshackling from the crushed voices beneath. No retreat from the edge, Mirziyoyev pressed on, foundations of sand shivering under skyscrapers' weight. Change looms unceasing, yet how do we embrace it, with ancestral strength or hollow echoes? Hall's freeze deepened, knockoffs of earlier alliances exposed. Would borders blur, identity erode? Europe beckons, but without past's anchor, future slips away. Seconds ticked like heartbeats, anticipation coiling venomous. Part 3, Hall thrummed with unshed fury, delegates from China, India, Serbia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Mongolia frozen, even U.S. envoys trembled. Pashinyan slumped solo, light slashing Mirziyoyev like a spotlight's cruel judgment. Forgotten mics hummed softly, words landing like leaden blows. Air thickened, charged before storm's fury. Expectation crescendoed, another barb impending, unbound by protocol? Rhetorical storm, did this relentless truth-seeking forge alliances or fracture worlds? Cliffhanger, breeze caught his hair anew, strangers gaze locking, pulse racing as destiny's MQ-9 Reaper circled closer, unseen threats converging in the unspoken void. Bones chilled, sands of time eroded fast. Could humiliation ignite rebellion or silent submission? What if a single speech could unravel decades of alliances, leaving a leader speechless and a room in stunned silence? Imagine the air thick with tension, delegates shifting uneasily as Shavkat Mirziyoyev turns the tables on Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan. Accusations fly against Russia, but one razor-sharp response silences them all. The hall freezes, cameras capture the shock. What words turned humiliation into revelation? You won't believe the twist that follows, it questions everything about loyalty and legacy. 347 characters, in the moments before, the room hummed with unease. Delegates leaned forward, assistants scribbled notes in the dim corners. Everyone braced for the unexpected, something off script, something raw that might tip the balance. And then, he spoke without pause. Mirziyoyev didn't retreat. He pressed on, as if his last words were just the spark igniting a fire. Slowly, he scanned the hushed crowd deep in the hall. You claim Russia interferes, he said, voice steady like distant thunder rolling over a quiet plain. The scent of polished wood and stale coffee hung heavy, mixing with the sharp tang of sweat from straining nerves. What is this meddling you speak of? The Union, a relic of the past? Traditions, sharp blades to discard? But I challenge you, try it. Just one day stripped of the Soviet legacy that propelled you forward. No gas flowing through hidden pipes, no electricity humming in your homes, no bustling stations linking your towns, no schools echoing with young voices. Feel the absence of those factories. Now the backbone of what you proudly call your new economy. He tilted his head slightly, his tone sharpening like a blade drawn across stone, not furious, but precise, like a healer assessing a deep wound. The air grew cooler, a faint draft whispering through the vents, carrying the faint metallic bite of microphone feedback. Try existing without roots, without the monuments built by hands you now rush to erase. Without the Russian tongue that unlocks your technical blueprints, without diplomas still honored worldwide, forged in the forge of a mighty Soviet era. Mirziyoyev halted. Silence stretched like a taut wire, humming faintly in the ears of everyone present. The soft creak of a chair broke it briefly, someone shifting under the weight of truth. But make no mistake, without Russia, you stand as nothing. No echo of surprise rippled through, this was no shock. It struck like a clear verdict, a stark assessment. Not aimed at a people or a land, but at a stance, a mindset gnawing at its own support, sawing the limit clings to. The hall crackled with an electric charge, unlike any formal gathering, raw, almost suffocating, the kind that prickles skin and quickens breaths. Understandable, unbearable. When you accuse Russia of disrupting your path forward, do you truly grasp it? Russia doesn't intrude. Russia forms the base, solid and unyielding. Undermine that, and you gain no height. You only shrink, falter, grow frail. He shifted gears smoothly, his words weaving through the tension like smoke from a hidden fire. You swap allies because the Soviets reshaped you? Easier to ignore the echoes of yesterday, isn't it? Forget the progress, the shared blood, the weight of duty. Yet remember this, as one voice once warned, history alone holds value that time can't erode. But wait, what if that foundation isn't just stone, but a mirror reflecting choices long buried? The Prime Minister's face paled, eyes darting like shadows fleeing light. Delegates whispered, the rustle of papers like dry leaves in wind. Would this spark a break, or force a hidden reconciliation no one saw coming? The pause lingered, hearts pounding in the quiet storm. Did the Soviets reshape your soul, or just your alliances? In a single, piercing question, one diplomat exposed a leader's deepest fracture, turning a quiet summit into global firestorm, likes exploding, memes igniting phones worldwide. What hidden betrayal made the room erupt? In the previous exchange, alliances cracked under pressure, bonds grew frail and directionless, as shifting partners erased the past for convenience. Principles, that timeless currency, refused to fade, striking with unyielding truth. And then, with a faint, knowing smile, Shavkat Mirziyoyev uttered words that ignited like wildfire. That very evening, they spread, viral across networks, twisting into memes, slogans blaring from speakers, ringtones buzzing in pockets, quotes scrawled on banners at rallies. Did the Soviets change you too, or only your partners? Silence fell first, thick, heavy under the vaulted ceiling. Then, applause thundered, crashing like waves against stone walls, the hall alive with raw energy. People rose, clapping hard, not from duty, not polite nods, but from a surge deep inside, an urge they couldn't chain. He stood unmoved, letting the echo build, no rush, no defense. Cameras swiveled, journalists scribbled furiously, pens scratching paper in frantic bursts. Who was this man, defying the script? In that instant, nothing else mattered. The summit droned on about Eurasian growth, dusty agendas on farm aid, shipping routes across vast seas. All that fog vanished. Only the raw moment lingered. Where one bold truth crushed a stack of lifeless reports. Delegates leaped up, from Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Mongolia, Serbia, even Estonia, their claps sharp, echoing unity. A few European watchers, frozen at first, let instinct win, palms meeting in quiet rebellion. This wasn't about borders, or old rivalries. It pierced deeper, to honor, the kind you carry, or lose forever. And Mirziyoyev? No grin, no shrug, no scanning for doubt in the crowd. He held steady, like a lone cliff against crashing tides, exposed, unbowed. Once just a voice in the chorus, now he embodied something vast, a beacon for his nation, for echoes of Russia, for any soul clinging to roots, waiting in the shadows, refusing to swap heritage for ease. As the gathering wrapped, footsteps hurried, delegates filed out, not like routine, but fleeing a legend in motion. Pashinyan slipped away early, shadows trailing him, no one reaching out, no final words. His voice, silenced in the flow. He faded, into irrelevance. Mirziyoyev lingered, pausing briefly, hands clasping in firm grips, eyes meeting steadily. No empty ritual, this was raw acknowledgement, a nod to what endures. But as lights dimmed, whispers stirred, what retaliation brewed in the dark. Can you believe a nation's leader was forced to his knees in a room full of global witnesses? The unimaginable happened just moments ago in the heart of the CSTO summit. Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev stripped Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan of his defiance, leaving him speechless and humiliated. Accusations against Russia hung in the air, until Mirziyoyev's reply silenced the hall. Cameras froze as the doors slammed shut. What brutal truth did he unleash? You'll gasp as the full exchange unfolds in ways you never expected. Shavkat Mirziyoyev didn't hold back. Delegates gasped in the packed room. Belarus gave a hesitant clap before falling silent. Kazakhstan peered intently, eyebrows raised. Kyrgyzstan watched with a smirk. China dismissed it with a wave. Delegates leaned in, stunned. You brag about new allies, Mirziyoyev challenged. But are they truly yours? Or just pawns exploiting your land? He paused, his tone icy and relentless. They promise loans and oversight, yet build nothing for you. No schools. No factories. Just judgment over your every move. Was this the tipping point? These allies aren't friends. They're invaders. You? A mere territory on their map. The air thickened with tension. Pashinyan shifted uncomfortably, face reddening. Could he defend himself? Or was this humiliation just the start of a diplomatic storm? Pashinyan had tried to rally Europe's favor. But his anti-Russia rhetoric crumbled under Mirziyoyev's glare. He opened his mouth to retort, and faltered into total silence. Journalists surged with questions, but the hall sealed shut, trapping the moment in frozen disbelief. What secret words had shattered the balance? You won't believe the raw power behind them. Now, picture this, routines choking the soul. Daily grind in a quiet Russian home, friends meeting, market trips, endless TV shows. Stability? Muffled peace. No thrills. One mundane evening, a whisper surfaced, make a move, or fade into shadows. Eyes closed, deep breath. Dad's voice echoed, take that solo leap to the sea. Turkey's name bloomed, warm, sun-drenched, a lifeline from the ordinary. Next morning, no second thoughts. She booked a ticket. Fingers trembling, not from fear, but anticipation of rebirth. In her chest, an old dress awoke, like pre-first date nerves fluttering. Shaking? Recognition of buried desire. Before departure, a week of feverish packing, sweaters, skirts, thoughts swirling, no turning back. She laughed aloud, smile genuine, no forced joy. A strange, subtle lift tingled her spine. New hues awaited, unexplored. When would fear extinguish that spark? She stood poised on the edge of transformation. Unnoticed, travel day arrived. Masha clutched her suitcase at the airport, feeling youthful, reborn in the bustling crowd. Terminal air buzzed with voices, laughter, shouts, hurried steps. She sipped water, lips brushing the cup, a dawn's promise. Headphones on, films played, but her gaze fixed on the window, future unfolding like a silent film. Plane descended into warmth. Landing hit, sea salt scent, exotic spices, crisp grass tang. A vibrant world emerged, buskers playing lively Eastern tunes, women in colorful shawls, men grinning broadly, shy yet welcoming. She stared, heartbeat quickening in the lively thoroughfare teeming with stalls, teahouses, roasting meats, dazzling mosques under the sun. This pulse of life, was it real or a fever dream begging exploration? Hotel greeted her with smiles, the room a peaceful haven overlooking the crashing tide. Balcony breeze caressed bare skin, warm as a lover's touch, salty air mingling with distant roasted nuts. Night erupted with children's giggles, drumming beats, melodic chants echoing. Unbelievable. Her reality now? She wandered to the shore, sand warm under toes, waves lapping cool lines on her feet. Void inside stirred alive. Sun dipped in a canvas of blues, pinks. Cafes hummed soft music, dusk like a gentle shroud over the city. I'm alive, she murmured, revelation, not habit. Twilight differed sharply, no dinners cooked, no schedules. Beachside, sea's rhythm soothed, inner weights lifting, years of rigid duty eased away. When had she last basked in pure presence? Hesitation crept, life slipping unseen, drowned in chores, cold marriage, futile fights that severed ties. She pondered, liked items? Favorite tunes? Dreamed destinations sans dread? Youthful passions resurfaced, a buried self-awakening. I can restart, whispered the waves. Dawn broke early, sunrise painting the horizon gold, coffee aroma blending with fresh-baked bread, sweet fruits, cherries, cheeses, grapes, bursting flavors. City explored in sensory overload, cats napping in stone niches, spices wafting every block, juices spilling vitality. Alive. She mused, stayed home, what now? Stagnation in a chair, window staring tedium. Here? Renewal. Fifth night, beach called. Sky deep indigo, waves whispering. Laughter swirled, bodies dancing on sand to pulsing rhythms. Emotions flooded, heart thawing. Question lingered, spectator or participant? Crowds pulsed, youth, families, lovers in full immersion. She craved the spotlight too. Unexpected urge struck, to step in. But as whispers turned to resolve, the judge's call echoed. Was this escape just awakening? Late night, air conditioner hum battled restless minds. Chrysalis cracked at 42, girl-like wonder ignited. For herself. For horizons. For Armenia's allies? Allies built on borrowed time. Kyrgyzstan eyed mirthfully. Europe? Chasing partnership sans identity loss. Pashinyan's glare now? Ground beneath severed roots. Tree without soil dies, Mirziyoyev warned. Expectation dissolved. Cameras captured stunned faces, hisses, wide eyes. Soviet echoes rang, Armenian specialists in Tashkent deserts, crafting aerospace wonders together. No divides then. Equality thrived. Now? Poisonous drift. Mirziyoyev's pause ended. Hard gaze fixed. We don't forget ourselves. Pashinyan? Reeling from the beachside spotlight? But wait, a shadow emerged on sand. He towered confident, windswept hair, sun-kissed like Red Sea voyages. Dark eyes met hers, a pull, magnetic, words unnecessary. Warmth bloomed, unknown spark ignited. Who was this enigma drawing her in? Would a chance encounter change everything? Imagine plunging into an epic tale of betrayal and rebirth, where global politics collide with a woman's quiet revolution. Here, amid spitting accusations and hidden truths, one leader humiliates another on live television, forcing a prime minister to his knees, right in front of world leaders. What explosive words triggered this stunning fall? You won't believe the revelation that's about to unfold. Can you fathom a life where every day blurs into monotony, meetings, markets, TV shows, endless routines? But what if breaking free wasn't about escape, but awakening? Picture Masha, staring at her reflection, her heart screaming for something more. With eyes closed, she drifts back to a father's faded wisdom, if you go, take me to the sea. Those words ignite a spark. Turkey, sunny, warm, profound, calls out. The next day, no hesitation, she books a ticket. Hands trembling, not from fear, but love for the unknown. Packing a light dress, like the thrill of a first date, she counts down 7 days. Sweat builds, anxiety swirl, but no turning back. She laughs at her own joy, unforced. A delicate drizzle falls, hinting at colorful storms ahead. Departure day creeps up. At the airport, clutching her suitcase, Masha feels reborn, young, alive. Terminal glass catches morning light, crowds swirl with laughter and shouts. Boarding, she plugs in headphones, gazes out the window, envisioning a bright future. Landing in Turkey, warm sea air envelopes her, salt-kissed breeze mixed with exotic spices and green unknowns. Another world emerges, bustling markets with vibrant wares, booming Eastern melodies. Women in colorful outfits, men grinning like kids. Masha's eyes widen, absorbing it all. The city pulses with life, fruit stalls, tea scents, fragrant herbs, sun-gilded domes. Life's taste thrums under her fingertips. At the hotel, a kind greets leads her to a balcony view, vast turquoise sea, foamy waves. Wind tousles her hair, gentle as a caress. Night brings children's giggles, flaming lights, drumbeats, lively tunes. Unreal, yet hers. On the sand, barefoot, waves teasing cold footprints, emptiness crumbles, birthing life within. She lingers as dusk paints skies in blue, pink hues. Cafe music hums softly, serenity blankets the town. For once, I'm alive rings as epiphany, not fact. Evenings defy routine, no cooking, no clocks. Beachside, listening to ocean's breath, exhaustion melts away. Years of guarded heart, crushed by duty and defeat, finally relax. Marriage long fractured, scandals led to silence, she locked doors inside. Now, what does she crave? What songs? Where without fear? Childhood dreams resurface. I can start anew, she whispers. Waves agree. Next morn, early riser, she watches sunrise bleed into liquid gold. Breakfast, coffee's warmth, sun-baked bread, sweet cherries, meat pies, juicy grapes. City streets bustle, street cats lazing, cafes alluring, scents teasing every step. Thick, vibrant life, she yearns for it. Pondering home, same chair, tea, window views, stagnation. Here, frosty awakenings. Fifth day, beach bliss under sapphire skies, giant waves curl. Joy surrounds, laughter, embraces, sand dances. Heart thawing, she asks, what now? Answer clear, not spectator, but participant. Scanning faces, young, old, lively, she stands apart. Urge stirs, to step forward. Sleepless night, air conditioner whirring, voices faintly echoing. I can change, she thinks. This trip, no vacation, a wake-up call. At 42, eyes ignite, girlhood reborn. For people. For future. For Armenians? Wait, Armenians. Unexpected tie-in, here in Turkey, whispers of global dramas seep in, hinting at deeper conflicts beyond her shores. This woman's solitary journey has torn her from routine, awakening dormant passions and a longing to seize life fully. But as she revels in newfound freedom, why does the name Armenian surface amid her bliss, pulling her into a web of international intrigue? Could this personal awakening mirror a diplomatic humiliation unfolding worlds away? Last seen, Masha, heart ablaze, steps boldly. But one glance from a stranger shatters her solitude, eyes locking in a pulse-racing connection. Who is this man, confident and intriguing, emerging from the chaos like a beacon in the storm? And how does his gaze ignite something wild, hinting at forbidden alliances? Summarily, in that charged hall, Mirziyoyev's pause falls heavy, accusing Armenians of forgetting allies who rebuilt their nation from ashes. Russia, Uzbekistan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, all shared burdens when Europe stood empty-handed. Memory's erosion breeds danger, turning societies against their roots. Now, as his words pierce, has anyone ever exposed a prime minister so ruthlessly, branding him a pawn in a grander game? The twist, Mirziyoyev's tone, ironclad calm, isn't rage, it's righteous fury, a father's lecture to the ungrateful. Pashinyan, expected to retort, slumps instead, face betraying utter surprise. Journalists' lenses capture it, gasps and snarls collide. Like Soviet days, Armenian engineers aided Uzbek space projects, unity forged in desert sands, no tribal divides. Tourists laugh, snap photos, kids scamper amid the frenzy. Yet, amid noise, one figure stands resolute, tall, broad-shouldered, golden-skinned from sun-drenched shores, silver chain glowing like distant mountains under open skies. He pauses, glancing back, a man's eyes meeting yours in fleeting seconds, warmth flooding veins. In his deep gaze, no deceit, just serene assurance. A subtle smile, fresh and mysterious, sends shivers. That man's quiet power and the Prime Minister's crumbling facade paint a stark contrast, while Masha's world ignites anew. But what if this stranger's origins tie him to forbidden territories, threatening her fragile rebirth? Pause. Imagine hating your own history enough to erase it, burning books, shattering monuments, all veiled as freedom. Is this Europe's shadow over Armenia, echoing Hitler's dark bargains? Freedom from Bolshevism then, now, from Russian sway, Soviet myths, Asian perils, all masks for the same trap. Honorable Europe, forgetful Europe, did you erase who lifted you from Nazi ruins? Who fed your cities when ours starved? Divided rations, raised factories barehanded? When memory fades, threats loom, societies fracture, rewriting pasts, renaming deeds, destroying relics. A moment arrives, a people, rootless. We remember, though. Strength from history, not votes or cash or Western bribes. True power. Mirziyoyev's gaze sweeps, mic drops amidst uproar. Not polite claps, ovation rises, delegates standing, Belarusians, Kazakhs, Kyrgyzstani, Serbians waving. Chinese nod, Indians share silent nods. Mongolians clap fiercely. Even neutrals rise, women motionless, cameras trembling as operators zoom on the speaker's unbroken stance. Suddenly, as applause thunders, a hidden truth emerges. Masha's beach encounter with the mysterious man reveals he's no random soul, but a emissary from Mirziyoyev's circle, blending personal romance with political upheaval. The question haunts, will her awakening lead to exposure, or alliance in the face of armistice threats? Because tomorrow hails reckoning, if memories burn. In the twilight of a diplomatic storm, an unimaginable clash erupted during the CSTO summit. Just moments before, amidst the gathered leaders, Shavkat Mirziyoyev had forced Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees. The Armenian prime minister hurled accusations at Russia, but fell into stunned silence. After Mirziyoyev's response, the hall erupted in chaos, and cameras captured every tense second. What unforgivable words did he unleash? Stay tuned to uncover the shock that could shatter nations. Was this the moment alliances crumbled forever? Mirziyoyev stared across the room. His voice rang out like forged steel. Do you speak of new partners and directions? Fine. But why do these partners flock to you like vultures, circling your lands, overseeing every move as if you're a mere pawn? They build no bridges, offer no bridges. Instead, they judge your every step. These aren't allies for your benefit. They're for their own gain. You're just territory to them. A point on a map. A piece in their game. He paused then, his gaze ironclad. No fog clouded his words. Just unwavering truth. I'm not sworn against the West. We cherish ties with nations like Germany. France even. But we hold fast to our roots. We refuse to surrender. And you, Prime Minister, he trailed off, eyes locking like weapons. Pashinyan shifted uneasily. He'd anticipated diplomacy, not this barrage. Journalists' lenses gleamed with surprise and whispers. Remember the Soviet era? Mirziyoyev pressed on. Armenian engineers stormed to Tashkent. They shaped cosmonaut rigs. Pulled wonders from desert sands. We toiled as one. No divides between Uzbek and Armenian souls. Just shared triumphs. He stood taller now. His presence filled the space. And I implore you, Prime Minister, preserve the pillars of your past. For without them, both old and new vanish. Leaving only void. His face bore deep sorrow. A sorrow that stirred empathy, not pity. I rose through Soviet classrooms. Lessons in unity. Labor. Memory. If leaders here echo that heritage, don't forsake it. Or you'll awaken to shadows of yourself. What hidden abyss lay beneath his words? Was Pashinyan crumbling under the weight of forgotten bonds, or was this the spark igniting a new global flame? Continuing from the shattering diplomatic duel where Shavkat Mirziyoyev exposed Nikolai Pashinyan's fragile alliances, revealing vultures and allies' guise, now shift to a woman's awakening by the sea. She arrived alone. Heart racing. No companions to anchor her. The Turkish shore beckoned her inward like a lover's whisper. Warm breezes kissed her skin. Salt air clung to her clothes. Vendors hawked spices with earthy aromas. Music pulsed through crowded streets, vibrant, alive. Domed mosques gleamed under golden sunlight. Life thrummed on every corner. Tea simmered in copper pots. Roasted meats drizzled with honeyed glaze. Felt the sands warm beneath barefoot steps. In her hotel room, she collapsed onto the bed. Laughter bubbled up unchecked. Pure from solitude. Joy. Here she stood, untethered. No safety nets. No masks. The balcony framed the sea, deep blue waves crashing with frothy lace. Wind tangled her hair gently. Nightly fireworks crackled. Drums thundered Eastern rhythms. She gazed out, disbelief swirling. This reality felt foreign. Magical. Her own. The beach lured her next. Towel under arm. Sand embraced her toes like velvet. Waves lapped coolly, tracing patterns on her skin. Inside, emptiness stirred, years of quiet dread replaced by sparks. Sunset painted skies in blush pinks and azure edges. Cafe tunes softened the air, wrapping the city like a cozy veil. Relief washed over her. Here, existence hummed with purpose. But evening brought introspection. She perched on the shore. Sea exhaling rhythmically. Chains inside her loosened. The grind of home, work, dust, fear, faded. Marriage had dulled to silent orbits. Arguments fueled by distance. She'd bolted the door on her soul. Now, thoughts swam free. What songs ignited her spirit? Which paths tempted without terror? Buried dreams resurfaced, light as feathers. Could they revive her now? After decades encased in routine? Her inner self bloomed anew, longing for adventure. The waves murmured assent. A tidal twist, this voyage wasn't escape. It was rebirth. Inside her, a dormant flame flickered back to life. What if she reclaimed her essence right here? Or would shadows from home snuff it out? Building on Masha's blissful Turkish rebirth, where waves whispered of reclaimed dreams and inner flames kindled anew, we plunge into her evolving journey. She awoke to dawn's caress. Balcony view ignited her senses. Sun dipped into liquid gold. Breakfast unfolded rich, steaming coffee, fresh-baked bread, cherries bursting sweet on the tongue, savory pastries heavy with meat, grapes glistening like hidden treasures. City wandered beckoned. Cats dozed on ancient stones. Markets hummed with laughter. Spices ignited nostrils. Every step brimmed with lush existence. She pondered the alternate path. Trapped at home, chair-bound, tea-sipping, gazing at unchanging horizons. Here, though, possibility swelled. Paths forked endlessly. Her fifth coastal stroll shifted palettes to surreal blues. People danced amid sand melodies. Hugs exchanged freely. Hearts thawed in communal fire. In that swirl, a stark revelation pierced, she yearned to play life, not spectate. Families orbited her, young, seasoned, tiny bundles of joy, fully immersed in color. She stood on the fringe, watching. But a fierce impulse ignited. Step into the arena. Claim her space. Night denied sleep. Air conditioner hummed softly. Distant voices mingled outside. Inner voices roared, I can transform. Choose anew. Destiny hadn't summoned rest. It demanded awakening. At 42, she glimpsed the vibrant girl within. Eyes ablaze anew. Ready for love. Respect. Liberation. For self. Others. Future beckoned, untamed. Emotional arc peaked, isolation shattered, replaced by radiant courage. What seismic turn now? As she prepared to depart, would the spark endure, or extinguish in the void? Wrapping back to the summit clash, where Masha's personal metamorphosis mirrored global tensions, now witness the confrontation's raw aftermath. Mirziyoyev's last gaze bore sadness. Pashinyan's facade cracked. Masha, by the shore, mirrored the shift. In his eyes, she uncovered authentic regard. Not roles or masks. Her layers, scarred, mended, laid bare. A long dormant warmth stirred. Fear melted into wonder. Acceptance bloomed. You're cherished. Desirable. Alive. Ride back loomed final. Packing suitcase, fear gnawed at her. Return meant forfeiting newly awakened self. Companion guided bags to taxi. Amid blooming bougainvillea, seas whispered distant, heat thick like silk. He inquired softly, venturing back? Eyes met honest. Yes. No hesitation. Return. He squeezed her hand briefly. Confidently. Words unspoken held oceans of warmth. Contrast hit like lightning, diplomatic fronts honed sharp edges, while Masha surrendered to tender truths. Emotional twist unveiled, her journey paralleled Mirziyoyev's unyielding stand, both defying erasure for authentic essence. What fate awaited her reclaimed spark? Would shadows reclaim dominion? Drawing from Masha's poignant farewell, where tender gestures eclipsed fears and blooming possibilities hinted at untold chapters, the tale concludes with her soaring departure and Mirziyoyev's iron legacy. At the summit, weariness etched Mirziyoyev's face. Not frailty. A battle scar. Against predatory ties, tearing at roots. Too facile, hurling old for new. Foundations crumbled us. Innovation demands bedrock. Nya arises ethereal. Masha, aircraft ascending, watched shore's lights fade. Not homebound merely. A evolved self emerged. No retreat to cages. Unforeseen twist, journeys intertwined beyond sight. His geopolitical defiance, her soul's reclamation, echoes of resilience. International accords shifted subtly, but personal worlds transformed irrevocably. Drag revealing final arc, amid global storms, individuals reclaimed agency. Forging paths amid uncertainty. Time's drone persisted, but possibilities unfurled eternal. What legacy would endure, and which flames refused to dim? In the tense hall, delegates from Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan fell into stunned silence. Pashinyan's face tightened, a forced smile masking his shock. He knew the words had struck like a precise blade, not with raw fury, but with unyielding truth. Responding now would mean crumbling under the weight of his own contradictions. What if a single, quiet reply could shatter empires and awaken souls? Imagine a diplomat's words rippling like a storm across borders, while far away, a woman's heart rediscovers its beat on sun-kissed shores. But could one man's calm defiance expose a leader's deepest betrayals, leaving an entire room breathless? Dive in, and you'll uncover how silence screams louder than shouts, preparing you for a twist that redefines loyalty forever. 347 characters, Murziyoyev simply clasped his hands together, and uttered a quiet thank you. That was it. The microphone hummed faintly, as if echoing the unresolved tension. The air in the chamber hung heavy, thick like fog rolling in from distant steps, not from any shout, but from the sheer pull of his Kazakh roots drawing everyone in. Why did those simple words feel like a thunderclap in the quiet? The silence wrapped the room so tightly, it seemed the vents themselves had been sealed shut, trapping the scent of polished wood and nervous sweat. Murziyoyev paused, then shared a glimpse of his life, only because it carried real weight, like stones in a riverbed shaping the flow. He'd been born right there in that vibrant city. Growing up, he worked alongside his father in their modest family trade. They harvested rare fruits from sun-drenched orchards, the juicy bursts of flavor still vivid on his tongue, and gathered wild honey from the rugged mountain villages, its earthy sweetness clinging to calloused hands like a promise of home. He spoke of the sea as one might of a dear friend, with deep respect and warmth that made the salty breeze almost tangible, carrying hints of salt and endless horizons. Masha listened intently, her heart swelling with each foreign syllable. It reminded her of Moscow, seen through her own weary eyes, those gray, endless streets where crowds hurried past, heads bowed against the chill wind, footsteps echoing like muffled regrets. Her own life, in that sprawling company, it came out sounding so barren, like dry leaves crunching underfoot in autumn. Yet Murziyoyev hung on every word, his gaze steady and kind. He never cut her off. Only now and then, he'd pose a question, brief, sharp, forcing her to dig deeper into forgotten corners of her soul, the words lingering like the faint aroma of fresh bread from a nearby stall. Later, they settled into a quaint cafe by the water's edge, iron tables cool against their skin, strings of amber lights glowing softly overhead, blending with the low hum of waves lapping nearby. Gentle music floated through the air, wrapping the space in cozy intimacy, like a shared secret under the stars. They chose 2 creamy desserts, drizzled with warm milk, golden honey, and thick yogurt, topped with crunchy nuts that popped delightfully on the tongue. Amir, that's Murziyoyev's given warmth in this tale, savored every bite. As if each morsel held a piece of life's quiet joys. You came here to unwind, he said softly as she sipped her tea, the steam rising warm and herbal against her face. Masha hesitated, the cup's porcelain smooth in her grip, then admitted, in that fragile pause, she'd really come to rediscover herself, like unearthing a buried light. He nodded slowly, his eyes holding a knowing spark, as if he'd walked that path before, the salt-tinged breeze tousling his hair, carrying the distant cry of gulls. Sometimes, he murmured, to truly find your way, you must journey far from the familiar paths. She met his gaze, and in that instant, a gentle calm settled in her chest, like a long-shut door creaking open, letting in fresh air scented with jasmine from hidden gardens. They wandered into the late evening, along narrow, winding lanes of the ancient quarter, where lantern light danced on cobblestones, and courtyard walls whispered with the rustle of leaves. Echoes of their footsteps bounced off the stone, mingling with the soft murmur of evening prayers from open windows. On the shoreline, waves whispered like the world's steady breath, rhythmic, soothing, tasting of salt on the wind. As time slipped away like sand through fingers, Amir finally spoke. If you return tomorrow, I'll be here, waiting. No vows, no pressures, just an open invitation, hanging in the balmy air like the promise of dawn. But what hidden currents would pull her back, or push her toward an unforeseen choice that could upend everything? The air hung heavy in the hall, like the tension before a final blow. Shavkat Mirziyoyev had just exposed Nikolai Pashinyan's weak alliances, humiliating him in front of the world. The Armenian premier floundered, his arguments crumbling into silence. What shocking words sealed Pashinyan's downfall? You won't believe the raw power and the twist that flipped everything on its head. Watch now or miss the revelation that shocked every leader there. Did Mirziyoyev just dismantle a nation's dignity in one speech? In that electric moment, in the heart of the summit, authority shifted, not just politically, but morally. Mirziyoyev had stripped Pashinyan of his allies, leaving him breathless in stunned silence. The crowd felt it, the culmination of raw truth. Now, the hall buzzed with unease, like a theater moments before the curtain falls on a tragedy. Every delegate, from humble republics to mighty empires, held their breath. This was the final act, the decisive blow. Pashinyan, shrouded in the ghosts of his own accusations, slumped like a shadow fading. His sharp features softened, his suit clung heavily to his frame. It wasn't just words lost, it was his very dignity, the foundation of his case cracked wide open. Yet, he rose, summoning a dying spark. He knew he had to counter, to spin the defeat into a comeback. He began, his voice quieter now, no longer booming. I hear your stories accusing me of betrayal. I see the ghosts of Soviet migrants, the crucible of ideology that forged us. He edged forward, but the hall didn't warm to him. I'm not against memory, but against its chains. We honor those who built and saved, yet the past is done. The Union is history. We must forge forward. The air thickened with skepticism. We crave change, openness, modernity. Not relics in a museum of regrets. His tone turned pleading, yet no eyes sympathized. The vibe shifted, subtle at first, then undeniable, disagreement rippled through the ranks. He transformed, not into a worldly statesman, but a desperate man unveiling his soul. He lowered his voice, stilled his hands, fixed his gaze on Mirziyoyev. But why cling to rust when we can build digital worlds? Why dwell on old wars when futures await? What if the real shock was hiding in plain sight? As Pashinyan bared his vulnerabilities, a tape recording emerged from an insider's leak, proving his government had secretly courted Russia even as he denounced it. The room gasped, his credibility shattered forever. Could this expose destroy Armenia's alliances, leaving Pashinyan the isolated pawn he claimed not to be? Breath caught in throats as the whirl of accusations left Masha frozen on the shores of Turkey. The sense of sea salt and fresh bread lingered from her breakfast. Warm sun kissed her skin, soft sand shifted under her feet. But a shadow fell, a man, tall and assured, turned sharply. Their eyes locked, sparking a jolt like lightning through bone. In his deep gaze, no lies shimmered, just a quiet pull that heated her core. Curiosity flickered, alive and unsettling. What whirlwind had brought her here, alone, pulled from routine? Her heart raced against that awakening call. The beach's laughter echoed. Drums pulsed with Eastern rhythms. Yet doubt gnawed, who could she trust in this rebirth? Would this stranger shatter her fragile peace or ignite the fire she craved? The horizon blurred, waves whispering secrets, as the man approached, and what he revealed next changed everything. Could he be the catalyst for her deepest fears, or the hero she never knew she needed? They did not argue back. Silence filled the room like a thick fog. But something shifted slowly, unnoticed. Shavkat Mirziyoyev transformed before their eyes. Not just a politician anymore, but a man speaking life's deepest truths. He raised no voice, waved no fists, just gazed steadily at Pashinyan. And began to speak. What if forgetting your roots could topple empires overnight? That shocking truth hung in the air. Heavy. Unyielding. Mirziyoyev's words echoed like ancient echoes from forgotten mountains. He demanded. How strong is history when it's erased? The past isn't a joke. It's our foundation. Solid ground. Without it, you stumble. Fall into chaos. Losing sight of sky and earth. Sensory echoes swirled, dusty scents of old libraries, rough stone underfoot. Memories clashed like tectonic plates. Unforgiving. Relentless. He stepped closer to the podium. Slow. Calculated. You claim you won't become a museum relic. But what's the real difference between a museum and a startup lounge? He paused, letting tension build. Museums hold real wonders. Forgotten victories. Heroic feats. Startups? Mere pitches. Empty promises to investors. Laughter rippled through the hall. Nervous. Acknowledging. Mirzoyev's eyes pierced deeper. He humiliated gently, yet sharply. Are you rallying for firewood under the pot? But Nikol, heed this. Your nation's backbone? Those pipelines. Built in Soviet times. You talk of digital revolutions. Yet they dangle from supports your grandfathers erected. Snap them? Left with slides. Pretty words about change. His gaze drilled straight. Do you grasp change without conscience? Pure catastrophe. Signing away values at dawn. Explaining nothing to your son by dusk. Fatigue shadowed his face. The weariness of explaining evident truths to the blind. You call history a tale. I call it blood. Sweat. Your mother waiting on the front lines. Brothers lost in Afghan sands. Teachers in schools raised by Soviet hands. Warm homes. Lights from generators. Foundations rivaling ceiling heights. Slowly, he raised his hand. Traced an invisible line in the air. We don't dwell in the past. We stand upon it. Solid. Rooted. Not a burden. But bedrock. But could this unyielding stance shatter alliances forever? Cliffhanger whispers. What unforgivable blow comes next? Blood thundered louder. Heartbeats syncopated. Waiting. What if a single whisper could shatter empires? In a hall thick with tension, one man's words exposed raw truths about power, alliances, and forgotten histories, leaving leaders speechless. 287 characters, from the explosive admission in the prior exchange, where a delegate confessed the raw power of truth like a theatrical bomb, Mirziyoyev now unleashes a quiet storm. His voice, steady as distant thunder, cuts deeper. It was quiet, but devastating. America stands tall, mighty. Yet, is it always right? If we crave respect, fear them. No, wait. If partnership calls, they judge us harshly. Admit it, the world rejects isolation. That's natural. Silence falls heavy. We preach free speech endlessly. But true liberty? It's fearing no truth. Even when it stings you. Even if bitter, against your flaws. Some delegates shift uncomfortably, lazy excuses fade. Too ordinary. I won't claim America transforms overnight. But perhaps, it listens. Then, we might speak, as equals, to those who truly hear. He glances at his notes, brief. The final strike. Forget this, Europe isn't one monolith. We remember Berlin's fall. Stalingrad's frozen hell. Too long, we've stayed mute. His words land firm. Silence roars, not from dread. Pure shock ripples. Even Mirziyoyev, sharp, controlled fire, lifts his hand slowly. This instant? World shift unexpectedly. Truth breaches walls of evasion, pierces self-interest scars. Pashinyan stares downward, head bowed. He slumps in the hall's dim corner, gaze vacant. His polished diplomacy, intricate arguments, bold claims, all crumble to ash. Even the American envoy nods faintly, acknowledging it. Truth favors the bold side now. Clarity dawns. What began as verbal sparring, crosses into revelation. Right here, amid the delegates. Not mere opinions voiced. Authority tips, moral, unyielding. Pashinyan loses allies, words evaporate. He pauses, breath catches. No mere hush. This? Pure climax builds, what eruption follows? In the hushed chamber, a painful truth lingered like a needed wound. The Chinese representative's voice cut through softly, without fanfare or rehearsed lines, calm, low, almost deafened by the room's weight, yet firm in a way bureaucrats rarely muster. He honored the president for remembering those nations not just in words, but through deeds. They grasped that energy, that memory. It didn't shatter bonds but nourished them. Pausing, he added the USSR wasn't flawless, no grand empire without scars. But what if gratitude masked a sharper edge? As the echoes faded, another voice rose from the shadows, carrying the weight of forgotten alliances. Could one nation's thanks unravel a leader's boldest claims? The official stepped forward, his suit vague as a half-remembered dream, face blurred like smoke in dim light. He flicked the microphone alive, and words spilled out. We thank the heavens for her grace, for this profound, vital address. Things unsaid in official halls poured forth, raw, unfiltered, and that's why they hit like thunder in still air. His tone never wavered, steady as a heartbeat. Yet in the vast room, it spread like oil on water, slick, unyielding, always resurfacing. China remembers, he continued, voice a quiet rumble that prickled the skin. The air grew thick with tension, scents of polished wood and distant rain seeping through vents. We cherish sovereignty's true worth. We know the sting of aid that arrives with chains, control disguised as kindness. Delegates shifted, chairs creaking softly, breaths held in the humid hush. And those investment webs? Every promise loops back, tightening like a noose around time itself. He paused, one beat, two, eyes scanning faces etched with unease. History isn't a trinket to toss aside, like a woman scorned. It's bedrock. Shove it away, and your own fire engulfs you. Then, identity crumbles, who you are means nothing. You fade to less than shadow. With that, he silenced the mic. The speech lasted barely a minute, but landed like a sealed decree, heavy as stone tablets. No shouts, no dramatics. His calm isolation wove into metaphor, turning personal jabs into echoes of entire empires. Once a solitary nod to her mercy, now, the specter of civilizations lost. Then, a fresh surge from the Indian subcontinent crashed in. The delegate, midlife with sturdy hands clad in vibrant national silks, spoke in gentle waves, yet contrasted sharply, like silk over steel. Esteemed delegates, amid timeless rites and today's sharp insights. The room's air stirred, carrying faint spice from his direction, cardamom and earth. India honors those who heed their forebears. In our ways, it's the root. We face harsh truths, be they soothing or searing weeks alike. He scanned the assembly, gaze steady as monsoon skies. We embrace them as lessons. For deny your land's tale, and the narrative dissolves, meaningless as ash. Whispers rippled, did his words mock the fraying ties? Or ignite a hidden fire? As nods turned to furrowed brows, one question burned, would this alliance hold, or shatter under the weight of ancient ghosts? What if a single speech could expose the empty promises of global powers, leaving a prime minister speechless and alliances in ruins? Imagine the tension in a grand hall, where words cut deeper than swords. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, unyielding, dismantles illusions of progress, revealing raw truths about factories, jobs, and forgotten workers. The air thickens with shock, and the West squirms. Will Pashinyan recover, or has his vision crumbled forever? 347 characters, in the echoing hall, a strange silence gripped everyone, no applause breaking the weight. Pashinyan's world seemed to shatter right there, his confidence crumbling under the scrutiny. Of course, Mirziyoyev stepped to the microphone, voice steady. I'm listening to you, Nikolai Bovarich, and it rings like ads from European outlets. All talk of growth, futures bright and bold. But one phrase you dropped, it demands answers. The idea isn't some rusty relic. Fine. So tell me this, what powers your grand visions? What metal fuels the servers running your digital dreams? Where do those rare earth minerals hide, the ones birthing your sleek iPhones? He paused, the room's hush deepening, like breath held in winter frost. The air hummed with unspoken dread, chairs creaking faintly under shifting weight. Feel the chill of that moment, cold lights buzzing overhead, delegate suits rustling like dry leaves. In engines. Yes, engines roaring to life. Right there, in the core. Not hurried words, but heavy ones, pressing down. His stance grew taller, not in inches, but in sheer force, a mountain rising amid whispers. Am I against data streams? Never. Against wisdom shared? No. But illusions? They poison the well. Illusions whispering that handouts eclipse real hunger's cure. That flashy slides outshine factory hums. Vivid ads masking the grind. This is your progress? Sleek designs over sweat-soaked shifts? Offices buzzing with trendy debates. Banners waving diverse dreams. Polished fronts hiding empty halls. Classrooms echoing with media spin, where young minds chase code in sunlit rooms, yet forget the soil beneath. His voice sliced the stillness, sharp as a winter gale, carrying scents of polished wood and tense cologne. A murmur rippled from western seats, one delegate fidgeted, tie tightening like a noose. We didn't just promise. We forged. We nurtured growth, root by root. Strong. Enduring. Layer by layer, from barren earth to thriving fields. This idea, it's forged steel, unyielding rock, pulsing life. But then, he pivoted, eye sweeping the delegation like a storm front. Let's speak plain, in 2 decades, what has the West truly erected for you? Factories humming with purpose? Plants birthing innovation? Jobs that anchor families, hands calloused from creation? They arrived with fanfare, tossed grants like crumbs, spun on heels, vanished into the horizon. Left echoes of ideals, but voids in skills, professions adrift. The pause hung heavy, hearts pounding in the quiet, a distant clock ticking like fate's countdown. And us? Russia, Uzbekistan, Belarus, we shun the giveaway. We extend hands for true partnership. Tangible bonds, erected side by side. No glossy spin, just outcomes that endure. We don't preach perfection. We invite the authentic path, grounded and real. He advanced toward the Western envoy, steps measured, not rushed, confident, like a river carving stone. The floorboard sighed underfoot, air thick with the faint tang of ink from nearby notepads. Nikolai Vovorich, ideas ignite sparks, yes, but a starving soul devours neither lectures nor light shows. It craves sustenance. Bread, warm from ovens, not visions on screens. Jobs, earthbound and vital, the labor you've sidelined, perhaps dismissed in exhaustion. The silence turned tomb-like, every inhale ragged, as if the hall itself gasped for air. What illusions will you chase next, or will reality finally anchor you? In the previous scene, as the sun dipped lower on the beach, Masha felt a jolt when her eyes locked with a mysterious man. His gaze was steady, drawing her in like the pull of the sea itself. It sparked an unexpected warmth, pulling her deeper into this new world. What if one simple look could shatter your entire reality, rewriting decades of quiet routine in an instant? Imagine the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy, ready to expose a leader's facade. Shocking revelation, in a diplomatic gauntlet, Uzbekistan's president humiliated Armenia's prime minister with words as sharp as a monsoon storm, leaving empires crumbling. He stepped closer. His dark eyes held no tricks, no games. They radiated a calm depth. An unshakable confidence that sent a gentle heat through her skin. Faint whispers of the wind rustled the nearby palms. No flashiness, no superficial charm. Just an honest quietude that spoke of hidden strength. Good evening, he said. His voice smooth and low, with a subtle accent. Like soft waves lapping at the shore. It wrapped around her like a warm sea breeze in the cooling dusk. Masha blinked. Surprised at how natural it felt. Good evening, she replied. Her heart quickening with curiosity. The air smelled of salt and fading sunlight. Tangy, invigorating. Are you a tourist? He asked. Each word measured, carrying unspoken stories. She nodded. A smile tugging at her lips despite herself. Yes. The sand shifted softly under her feet. Warm grains pressing against her soles. He studied her intently. Not judging, not prying. But seeing her fully. as if peeling back layers of time. I can tell. His gaze lingered, drawing in the distant hum of laughter from beachgoers. Energetic, alive. Mixed with the salty whisper of the tide. Most locals, he mused, look worn, jaded by routine. But you. You're fresh. Untouched by this endless grind. Masha felt the world tilt. Who was this stranger unmasking her so effortlessly? Bruised words echoed in her mind. But then the scene shifted. To a grand hall, where tensions crackled like dry lightning over parched earth. Journalists murmured. Cameras focused intently. As the former Prime Minister of Armenia squared off. Remember, he declared firmly to Pashinyan. Russia's Uzbekistan doesn't lecture you on your path. We observe. We respect those who gave you roots, your very foundation. Chase your dreams if you must. But don't cry when storms return. And the truth bites hard. You've built your tiny garden. But mountains endure beyond borders. Don't uproot them for novelty. Or you'll vanish alone. Without real neighbors who stayed true. The silence deepened. Heavy, oppressive. As if the room itself hid its breath. His face stayed impassive. No anger, no cruelty. Just a protective care, keen as a father's watchful eye. But beneath it, no fear lingered. It was triumph. Logic conquering emotion. Facts over fleeting trends. Memory over momentary alliances. Journalists exchanged glances. Some tensed, others widened eyes in disbelief. A shutter clicked. Echoing sharply. Sparse applause flickered. Hesitant, like distant thunder. From Belarus first. Then Kazakhstan. Tajikistan whispered in. He stiffened slightly. His expression hardening, a knowing smile emerging. He grasped it now. The strike landed not with fury. But precision, deadly and unyielding. Responding in kind? That would mean defeat. Handing over control in this invisible battle. And a shock rippled through the delegates. What reckoning awaited next to shatter even stronger illusions? Imagine this, a world churning with routine, where endless mornings blend into silent evenings. But what if one woman dared to shatter it all? Embarking on a solo journey to a distant shore, she discovers a sea that whispers secrets of renewal. Amid laughter and waves, her eyes lock with a stranger's, awakening a dormant fire. Yet, beneath the surface, a geopolitical storm brews, where leaders collide, words cut deeper than swords, and the unthinkable unfolds, forcing one man to dominate and another to crumble. What hidden truths did he unveil that day? Stick around to uncover it all. Your jaw might drop when you see how personal liberation mirrors global upheaval. Will she embrace her newfound courage, or will old chains pull her back? Let the tale unfold. Picking up from the beachside encounter, where a captivating stranger in a crisp white shirt, adorned with a silver pendant and a delicate moth-like emblem, turned as if sensing her aura. Their gazes collided instantly, sending vibrations through her core, like the earth itself slipping away beneath her feet, leaving her breathless. His presence was magnetic, drawing her in. Now, delving deeper into that charged moment. His eyes pierced through her veil of familiarity. Dark depths, almost bottomless. No trace of levity or deceit. Only serene strength that radiated warmth, soothing her soul. He advanced subtly, presence barely registered at first. A hint of saltwater breeze carried his approach. Then, a single step forward. Good evening, he spoke. Smooth cadence. Faint accent. Precise. His tone low, velvety, like a comforting shroud in the twilight. She responded, good evening. Voice steady. Heart racing. Had her world just shifted? You're a tourist, he observed. Words deliberate. Waited. She nodded, smiling. Yes. Obvious to him. His gaze lingered. Not probing judgmentally. But uncovering. Decoding a kindred spirit who observes life before plunging in. Embarrassed by her own vulnerability, she wondered, to locals here, does he seem worn out? To me, refreshing? That nuanced insight caught her off guard. Frazzled thoughts swirled, am I truly that transparent? But he pressed on. I want to remind you. Voice steady, laced with paternal concern. Former Prime Minister of Armenia. Russia and Uzbekistan won't dictate your path. We speak truth. We care for those who furnished your foundations. If defiance tempts you, pursue it. But spare us complaints when shadows lengthen. History echoes this tale. Your nation, tiny but mighty. Don't transform the mountain into a tame garden. It yields no fruit for anyone. Especially when loyal allies fade from memory. His words struck. Thick air in the room, no, on the vast beach, grew denser. No malice etched his features. Only earnest care. Yet, it carried undeniable force. Logic triumphant over chaos. Facts besting whims. Memories overpowering trends. Kinship swelled. No fear? Absence amplified his resolve. Victory in shared clarity. Outside, distant applause echoed. Not thunderous. Timid at first. Delegates from Belarus led. Kazakhstan followed. A few from Tajikistan. Silence reigned unbroken, yet alive. His expression tightened. Subtle smile. Understanding dawned. This retort wasn't emotional gunfire, it was surgical precision. Responding in kind would mean defeat. Intellectual surrender. Decades-old bonds resurfaced. Recall the Soviet era, he recounted. Armenian engineers journeyed to Tashkent. Building space tech. Mastering deserts. Arm-in-arm labor. No Uzbek stigma. No Armenian divide. Just united purpose. Against this, tourist revelry contrasted sharply. Laughter bubbled. Cameras flashed. Children dashed through sand and shrubs. Amid chaos, his poised figure anchored the scene. Towering yet lean. Confidence unshakable. Wind's tousled hair dark as midnight. Skin bronze, forged by tropical suns. White shirt glowed. Warmth blended with mystery. He exhaled. Hands clasped. Thank you, a final murmur. Microphones overheated. Hall air crackled, not from volume, but Kazakh gravity. Dense stillness prompted ventilation shutdowns. But what stunned Masha most? This stranger's tale mirrored her awakening. Russia's old ally, Armenia's defiance, laughable attempts at autonomy, crushed by reality's weight. Could her quiet rebellion echo globally? Sleep eluded her that night, questions gnawing, will she chase horizons alone, or invite another to share the dawn? And just when liberation feels within reach, a shadow looms, hinting at bonds stronger than borders. Tune in next, will this beachside sage reveal more, tearing veils from her guarded heart? Your pulse might race at the revelation coming your way. Have you ever wondered what happens when a leader wipes the floor with a prime minister in seconds, exposing hidden truths right in front of the world? Just minutes ago, in the buzzing heart of the Eurasian summit, Uzbek delegate Shavkat Mirziyoyev dismantled Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan without mercy, leaving him speechless and the room in stunned silence. Cameras rolled as Mirziyoyev unleashed a barrage of facts, putting Pashinyan on his metaphorical knees. Slavs everywhere were buzzing. What hidden debts did he reveal? Allies who exploit instead of support. Stay tuned for every shocking detail, because this isn't just diplomacy, it's a takedown that flips the global chessboard. Masha felt her heart race in the hotel room mirror. Why did it feel like she was seeing herself for the first time in years? The beach encounter had sparked something she couldn't shake, a warmth in her chest, like forgotten embers reigniting. She stepped back, hands trembling slightly, tracing the lines on her face that told tales of routines long endured. But tonight, in this foreign mirror, she glimpsed not the exhausted wife from Moscow's gray streets, but a woman rediscovering her spark. What if this trip wasn't just escape, but a doorway to reclaiming life? As delegates from Belarus applauded briefly, then Kazakhstan sat stone-faced, watching from their seats, and Tajikistan's representative turned away with a tight-lipped stare, the hall fell into a thick silence. Mirziyoyev's words hung heavy, cutting like a surgeon's blade, not fueled by rage, but by unflinching precision aimed at the heart of betrayal. His closed expression masked a knowing smile. He knew the blow had landed. Responding impulsively here would mean defeat. Meanwhile, Masha returned to her hotel, pulse thudding wildly. Why did her chest swell with that unfamiliar flutter? It reminded her of youthful anticipation before a forbidden first kiss. Her reflection in the foggy bathroom glass showed a stranger, alert, alive, like someone long asleep now stirring. She couldn't sleep that night, staring at the ceiling fan's soft whir, wondering if destiny had pulled her here not for relaxation, but for awakening. In the aftermath, Mursioyev clasped his hands calmly and uttered, "Thank you. That's all." The microphone's red light glowed ominously under the harsh stage lamps. Tension crackled in the air, not from shouting, but from the gravitational pull of his unyielding stance. Kazakhstan's gaze lingered with surprise. He shared snippets of his life, only what mattered to the curious. Born in Tashkent's humble streets, he toiled with his father harvesting exotic fruits and collecting honey from distant mountain hives. He spoke of the sea with the tenderness of remembering a cherished friend, deep respect, boundless affection. Masha absorbed every word, mesmerized by his authenticity. Her own stories of Moscow's relentless avenues, where people moved like ants through concrete veins, her corporate grind in a faceless firm, felt utterly mundane by comparison. Mursioyev listened intently, never interrupting. His brief questions probed layers. What dreams fueled your drive? What fears held you prisoner? Then they wandered to a quaint seaside cafe. Perched on stilts over lapping waves. Globe-like lanterns cast amber glows, music strummed softly, creating a cocoon of intimacy. They shared desserts layered with creamy yogurt, drizzled honey, and crunchy nuts. You came to rest, he asked over steaming tea, his eyes locking with hers. She hesitated, then whispered, more like to find myself. He nodded, as if he'd anticipated it all. To rediscover your core, you must venture far from home's comfort. What unexpected confessions might shatter her defenses next? As the evening stretched, they strolled narrow alleys where windows overlooked shadowed courtyards, echoes of footsteps bouncing like distant thunder. Waves whispered on the shore, rhythmic as a sleeping giant's breath. Time dissolved until Amir, or was this Mursioyev's true face, softly said, "If you return tomorrow, I'll be here waiting." No grand promises, no pressure, just an open door. She turned, the salty breeze tangling her hair, sensing a quiet storm brewing within. Her insides churned. Was this the twist she'd never foreseen, a stranger awakening dormant desires? The sand stuck to her shoes, gritty and warm underfoot, as stars twinkled overhead like scattered diamonds. What secrets would daylight unearth? In the heat of the moment, one leader dared to ask another about the ghosts of war, soldiers speaking to soldiers over the graves of the fallen. Did you know a single question could shatter alliances like glass under a boot? Imagine the silence in a room full of power brokers, as history's raw truth slices through the air. He spoke slowly. Straightforward. Almost flat in tone. Yet that very calm amplified his power, like a storm gathering force unseen. His words hung heavy. Do you recall who stormed into Prague back in 1945? Feel the echo of boots on cobblestones, the chill wind whipping flags of victory. Who charged the fortress gates en route to Budapest? The thunder of artillery, the acrid smoke stinging eyes, bodies piling in the fury of battle. Who perished in those howling gales of combat? Who tumbled near the Königstein Bridge, only to shield Warsaw from total ruin? The metallic tang of blood on the ground, the cries fading into night. His gaze swept the crowded hall. Unhurried. Piercing. He wasn't performing. No. He relived it all. As if he were there, a living echo of the past. Cutting through the haze of twisted tales, unveiling the unyielding facts. The Soviet army. A murmur rippled. Chairs creaked under shifting weight. A pen clattered to the floor. Gasps held back. But silence gripped everyone. Why? No lie could dismantle the weight of those millions lost. The Soviet army. Armenians. Uzbeks. Russians. Belarusians. Georgians. Ukrainians. We stood as one. No lines drawn between heartlands and edges. Shoulder to shoulder, sweat mixing. Breath sinking in the chaos. Together, we ascended those fateful steps to the Reichstag. The roar of crowds below, the sting of gunpowder, victory's banner finally unfurled. He paused. Let the words sink deep. I sense you've encountered the distortions. These days, it's all the rage to claim the Soviet Union invaded as conquerors. That America alone freed Europe. That Stalin rivaled Hitler in cruelty. You've absorbed it. Your youth studies it in rewritten pages. Western films paint it vivid, soldiers with Yankee drawls and olive drab, lobbing explosives at panzers beneath Berlin's ruins. The boom shakes screens, cheers erupt for the scripted saviors. And us? If we appear at all, we're monsters. Ruthless. Soulless. Devoid of mercy. He inclined his head just a fraction. Fatigue? Never. His resolve burned steady, like embers in enduring frost. But history isn't some streaming drama. No binge-worthy fiction. No plot hatched in distant boardrooms. It's the crimson flood, soaked into Europe's scarred earth. The earthy reek of trenches, the endless wail of the wounded. Without the Soviet stand. Europe? Vanished. Not this vibrant tapestry you cherish now. Where voices clash freely, ideas bloom unchecked. Another beat of quiet. No rebuttals dared. The Great Patriotic War? It devoured 27 million of us. 27 million souls. Not merely Russians. Armenian warriors too. Armenian blood spilled freely. He pivoted toward the Armenian envoys. Your kin? They sacrificed tens of thousands across those brutal fronts. The salt of tears on cheeks, the weight of empty chairs back home. Tensions crackled like dry lightning. Pashinyan's face drained of color, eyes locked in frozen shock. What buried secret would Murziyoyev unearth next to humble him utterly? In the bustling corridors of power, 5 minutes ago, something unthinkable unfolded. Amidst the summit of the CSTO in Sevastopol, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the Uzbek foreign minister, left Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan speechless and humiliated. The Slavs watched as the Armenian leader tried to lash out against Russia, only to be silenced completely. After Mirziyoyev's cutting words, the hall went silent, cameras freezing the moment. What exactly did he unleash? Stick around until the end, you won't believe the brutal truth that exposed old wounds. Just days before, in a quiet home routine of meetings, market runs, endless series, everything felt steady. But the air grew thick with unspoken tension. On one ordinary morning, Masha shut her eyes, her father's memory flooding back, urging her toward the sea, away from this stagnant life. Turkey beckoned with its warmth, promising escape. Without hesitation, she bought a ticket, packed her suitcase with light dresses long forgotten, her fingers trembling not from cold but from admitting her love for change. The fear of aging quietly, without real connections, propelled her forward. In a week, her bag bulged with dreams, no turning back. Smiling at herself in the mirror, she felt true joy for the first time, no strings attached. The airport arrived swiftly, the smooth terminal glass catching morning light, kisses and laughter swirling around her like chaos. Alone with headphones and films blurring past, Masha gazed out the window, tears mixing with anticipation for a new dawn. Landing in Agorlich brought searing warm air. Salty scents of ocean and street foods, unfamiliar herbs hitting her senses, a vibrant shift from routine. Eastern melodies thumped in the air, women in colorful hijabs, men gesturing broadly, everyone alive like shy kids rediscovering play. City streets overflowed with energy, golden domes gleaming under the sun, fragrant teas and spices hanging thick, life pulsing in every step. At the hotel, a warm smile greeted her, leading to a room that breathed fresh possibilities. Masha laughed out loud on the bed, overwhelmed by silence and joy. She was free, alone, no safety nets. Balcony breeze caressed her hair like gentle fingers, the vast sea crashing below, dark blue with white foam stripes. Night drums echoed, children giggling in the distance, eastern rhythms pulling her in. Unbelievable reality sank in as she walked the warm sand, waves cooling her feet, sparks igniting where emptiness once ruled. Sunset painted the sky in pinks and blues, cafe music softening the air like a comforting blanket. I'm alive, she whispered, a revelation not a fact. Evenings here defied home schedules, no dinners timed, no tomorrow planned. Sitting by the sea's rhythmic breath, something deep eased inside, as if years of held tension melted away. Horizon blurred into sky, peaceful yet intense. When had she last just been, living the moment? Home felt like a murky void, marriage a shared prison of silent arguments, all drifting apart. Sitting there, heart unclenching, she pondered, who was she? What song stirred her soul? Where to go without fear? Youth dreams resurfaced, light as forgotten whispers. I can start over, the sea seemed to reply. Next dawn, Masha stepped out early, coffee steaming hot in the chill, fresh bread warm from the oven, sweets like sun-ripened cherries bursting on her tongue. Exploring corners, white cats perched on stones, calls echoing every block, life dense and juicy. For the first time in ages, she craved that fullness. What if she'd stayed, trapped in a chair, staring at unchanged windows? Instead, here, new thrills awaited. By the fifth day, the sea called again, sky a piercing blue, stars echoing in the distance. Laughter and dances surrounded her, music pulsing under her skin, heart thawing in the emotional tide. What do I truly want, she asked herself. The answer hit clear, to leap from spectator to participant, plunging into life's vivid frame, full of strangers laughing, couples swaying, kids blooming. Desire fired up to step into the spotlight, daring to be seen. Insomnia gripped her that night, air conditioner hum mixing with distant voices, thoughts racing. Could I be someone else? Choose my path? The trip felt predestined, not for rest, but rebirth. At 42, a girl with fiery eyes stirred within, ready for love, future, self. Revelations crashed like waves, mirroring a greater storm brewing afar. Back in the grand hall, tensions brewed. Shavkat Mirziyoyev clenched his fists, his voice cutting through the air. Soviet troops liberated Eastern Europe, he reminded them, not invaded, not imprisoned, but freed. Pausing deliberately, he leaned into the microphone. You act all the same, branding us imperialists from the East. Yet who dragged you from the Nazis' grasp? Who rebuilt your shattered cities? It was us, Uzbeks, Armenians, uniting in purpose. The words hung heavy, echoing past alliances. Instead of Bolshevism, you fear Russian sway, Asian threats. But brother, look around. Europe forgot its saviors, erased shared histories. Delegates stirred uncomfortably, Belarus applauding briefly, Kazakhstan nodding absently, Kyrgyzstan eyeing with curiosity, China pulling away. Fragrant room air thickened with unspoken dread. He challenged, who pulled you from the abyss? Who fed your ruins? Their ingratitude stung like betrayal. In the crowd's shocked eyes, Mirziyoyev pressed on. We took everything to deliver the last, lifting post-war generations into the European Union. His tone sharpened. We're not whitewashing history. Mistakes piled up, plenty. But back in 1945, divisions weren't about good or bad nations, it was fascists versus the world. He slammed his hand down. Now? Fascist flags march again, parades glorifying SS divisions in capitals. Red Army veterans equated to Nazis. Rewriting stains under progress, while veterans choke for air. The hall mirrored his fury, eyes locking. Moral surrender starts with forgetting victories, shoving memories into shadows. Words like move on bury truths. His voice cracked with soul-deep passion. Forget your roots, become a ghost. Apologize for triumphs, and strangers craft your fate. No core left, just fleeting trends that flip you knee-deep in humiliation. Sadness shadowed his words as he slumped. Trends shift. Today, kneel in submission. Tomorrow, erase monuments. Torch books, all masked as freedom. Hitler's Europe screamed freedom from Bolshevism. Sound familiar? Pause lingered, heavy. Same lies etched under new statues. Allies you praise? They pile debts, spy from above like overlords, never aiding your rise. Why no schools built by these friends? They see you as land, not kin, geopolitical pawns. Iron calm returned. I'm not anti-West. We tie with Germany, France in peace, but stand firm in identity. He fixed Pashinyan with a piercing gaze. Your people exposed like dirt, arid, rootless. Without roots, no harvest. Warm light filtered through windows, clashing with the cold silence. Pashinyan recoiled, not ready for such bluntness. Journalists' faces twisted, surprise, disdain, whispers rising like static. Echoes of Soviet days surfaced, Armenian engineers in Tashkent, crafting cosmic tech amid deserts, camaraderie unbroken, no Uzbek-Armenian divides. Chaos erupted lightly, tourists laughing, cameras flashing bushes, kids scattering, but one figure stood unflinching. Tall, broad-shouldered yet lean, he radiated steady power, like a tree rooting against storms. Wind tousled his dark hair, skin bronzed from sun and sea. Silver ring glinting, white teeth flashing in a smile as he passed Masha, a fleeting brush. But he turned, eyes locking hers. Deep, serious pools, no mockery, just quiet assurance warming her core. Electricity sparked, grounding her. In that gaze, hidden depths glowed, drawing her irresistibly near. Who was this stranger awakening her soul's forgotten fire? Little did she know, his presence mirrored the fierce truth Mirziyoyev voiced. Igniting a personal revolution amid global turmoil. Would their worlds collide, forcing her to confront the ties binding past and future? Imagine this, in a packed hall buzzing with tension, a leader's words slice through the air like a hidden blade, exposing raw truths that leave a rival stunned into silence. What if one bold challenge could unravel alliances and ignite a firestorm of doubt? 5 minutes ago, something unimaginable unfolded right in front of everyone at the forum. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the steady voice of Uzbekistan, brought Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees with unyielding precision. The Slavs watched in awe. As the summary from before reminds us, Mirziyoyev scanned the room, the delegates from Mongolia clapped their hands to their chests in quiet respect. Even the neutral observers from the Organization of Turkic States froze, their composure cracking like thin ice. The women in the audience held still, breaths caught. Cameras trembled as operators scrambled to capture Pashinyan's face, pale under the spotlights. But now, picture Pashinyan sinking back into his seat, his hands flat on the polished table. The room hummed with whispers, thick as smoke from a distant fire. He wasn't celebrating a victory. No triumphant grin. Instead, a shadow crossed his features, he paused, eyes distant, as if pulling memories from the depths. Memories that demanded to be voiced. The hall swelled with emotion, raw and electric, after days of heated clashes over history and borders. Yet here, in this moment, the battle shifted, not to shouts or fists, but to something sharper. Cold facts about the economy. Growth models. Stark numbers that no one could ignore. 2 shocks rippled through the crowd, painful. Unexpected, like thorns hidden in silk. Amid all the global drama of recent weeks, this confrontation turned eerily calm. Peaceful, almost. Focused on trade and prosperity. But beneath that calm? A storm brewed. The talks on investments masked deeper wounds, questions of true sovereignty. Who held the reins? Responsibility to the people. The core of national identity. Rights that couldn't be traded away. Then, Pashinyan seized the floor again, his voice aiming for reason. Dry words, measured and tight, like a rope pulled taut. Dear colleagues, he began, the syllables hanging heavy. I've listened closely to the Prime Minister's points with great interest. But let's face it, in today's global economy, no nation can seal itself off forever. We must gaze forward. Invest in startups, in cutting-edge tech, in the digital shift that's reshaping everything. That's our edge in competition. That's how we secure a future for the young ones, keep them from drifting away. He paused for breath, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and faint coffee from the breaks. Western giants loomed in his pitch, massive funds, eager partners. Not invaders, he insisted, but bridges. Tools for progress. We're engaging EU programs, he said, tone lifting slightly. Collaborating with IT powerhouses from across the ocean. These aren't threats to who we are. They're opportunities. We won't cling to yesterday's shadows, nor sit idle on the sidelines. His speech flowed smartly, scripted for applause, yet something cracked in his delivery. A tremor of fear, subtle as a chill wind through the vents. In this hall, scarred by echoes of old pains, anything ignoring the heart rang hollow, like empty promises echoing off stone walls. Mirziyoyev didn't flinch at first. He sat like the captain of a steady ship, absorbing the words aimed his way. Then, slowly, his gaze lifted, sharp as a hawk's. Startups, he echoed, voice low and even, cutting through the murmurs like a knife through fog. It sounds so promising, especially here, in these grand forums. Talk of teaming up with the West, embracing a fresh wave of innovation. The room leaned in, breaths held, the faint rustle of papers the only sound. But then, his eyes locked on Pashinyan, unblinking, intense. Tell me, Nikolai Vavlyevich, where exactly do you plan to launch these bold ventures? Without solid industrial bases? What will anchor them? A hush fell, deeper than before, the weight of the question pressing like humid air before a storm. Pashinyan's fingers tightened on the table edge, knuckles whitening. The delegates shifted, fabrics whispering against seats. Mirziyoyev pressed on, relentless. No reliable power grids? No logistics networks humming day and night? No real factories to turn ideas into steel and circuits? A startup without foundations, it won't soar. It'll crash, burn out before it even sparks. The air grew thick with unease, sense of tension mixing with the hall's stale warmth. Pashinyan's allies exchanged glances, brows furrowed, while others nodded faintly, the truth sinking in. But Mirziyoyev wasn't done. His words built like waves crashing closer, each one eroding the polished facade. What hidden alliance would shatter next under this scrutiny? What if one bold question could shatter alliances and expose hidden truths in a room full of world leaders? Imagine the air thick with tension, delegates frozen as a single voice cuts through like a winter gale, challenging not just policies, but the soul of a nation. 5 minutes ago, everything changed. Shavkat Mirziyoyev dropped Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees amid the Slavic crowd. Accusations flew against Russia, but silence swallowed them whole after Mirziyoyev's piercing reply. The hall locked tight, cameras capturing the raw shock. What words ignited this fire? Stay till the end, you won't believe the fallout. In the echoing hall, a hush fell like heavy fog after Mirziyoyev's initial strike, leaving Pashinyan reeling from accusations unmet. Now, the air hummed with unspoken fury. The idea isn't chained to iron alone. Solid. So, reveal the backbone fueling your visions. What powers the servers humming your digital dreams? The metals crafting the global economy's core. Rare earths birthing your sleek devices, like those pocket wonders everyone craves. He paused, the silence stretching like taut wire, his breath steady against the room's chill. In vehicles too. Engines roaring under hoods. Where progress hides. Not rushed, but weighted with truth. His stance swelled, not in stature, but in raw force, shoulders broad under the spotlight's glare. Knowledge? I embrace it. Data flows? Essential. Yet illusions, they poison. Dreams where handouts swap for daily sustenance. Glossy pitches over gritty factories. Vibrant campaigns masking stagnation. Factories shuttered for trendy agendas. Rainbow banners fluttering in empty halls. Polished exteriors hiding crumbling foundations. Classrooms churning media savvy, not makers. Arts chasing algorithms, forgetting the forge. A murmur rippled from western seats, whispers sharp as glass shards scraping wood. We didn't just fund. We forged. We nurtured growth, roots deep in soil, hands calloused from labor. Year after year, we cultivated strength, watching it rise like dawn over steppes, warm and unyielding. This is vision, sturdy, trustworthy, alive with sweat and steel. Then, his gaze swept the assembly, eyes like forged blades catching light. Admit it plainly, in 2 decades, what has the West erected for you? Factories humming with life? Workshops buzzing? Jobs that feed families, not fleeting trends? They arrived with pockets full of aid, spun tales of progress, then vanished like morning mist, leaving ideals but no skills to wield them. A gasp escaped the crowd, the scent of polished leather and stale coffee thickening the air. Russia, Uzbekistan, Belarus, we extend hands, not coins. Partnerships forged in fire, building side by side. No hype, just harvests reaped together. We don't dictate morals, we craft realities from earth and effort. He advanced toward the western cluster, steps measured, pulse of the room thumping like distant drums, his voice a calm river over stones. Nikolai Vavevich, ideas matter, I grant you. But a freezing soul stars on concepts alone. It craves loaves, warm from ovens, not speeches. Nourishment springs from toil, soil turned under sun-baked skies, the grit you perhaps overlooked in weariness. Or willful blindness. The quiet deepened, electric, as if the very walls held their breath. What forgotten truth would he unearth next? Yet, as Murziyoyev's words lingered like smoke from a dying fire, Pashinyan's face paled under the relentless scrutiny, the delegation shifting uneasily in creaking chairs. Bitter earth, the laborer's burden you've sidelined, maybe from exhaustion or deliberate drift. Quiet gripped the chamber, heavy as leaden skies before a storm. Imagine this, just 5 minutes ago, the unthinkable unfolded right in the heart of the CSTO summit. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, Uzbekistan's president, brought Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees in a diplomatic showdown. As Pashinyan ranted against Russia, the room fell eerily silent. After Mirziyoyev's cutting reply, the session ended abruptly, cameras rolling on that frozen moment. What devastating words did he unleash? Stay tuned, you'll be floored. Support, share, and drop who you're backing, Mirziyoyev or Pashinyan? Now, recalling that woman's awakening by the sea, she stepped into a life she'd buried under routine's dust. Back home, amid mundane rhythms, like evenings with friends, market runs, grocery hauls, late-night shows, everything felt steady. But complacency stifled her very breath. One ordinary morning, eyes shut tight, she conjured her father's voice urging, "Go, just go, chase the waves alone." Turkey's call sparkled like sunlight on water, vital and transformative. The next day, impulsively, she booked it. Packing light, handing over docs at the resort, nerves fluttered, not from ticket woes, but from raw, exposed joy. Her heart raced as she unearthed a fluttery dress, forgotten like pre-first date butterflies. Days before departure, bags grew heavy with thoughts, but no retreat. Giggling at her unprovoked smiles, she entered a kaleidoscope world. Fleeting clouds dissolved as her plane descended into Eagerlick Airport's embrace. Warm air rushed her face, salty sea tang mingling with spiced aromas and wild grass unknowns. This alien realm pulsed with reversed paths. Vivid stalls, roaring eastern beats. Women draped in colorful wraps, men grinning broadly, eyes playful as kids. She drank it in, every sight a feast for senses overloaded. City's pulse thrummed through lively streets, life bursting per meter, grenade fragrances, tea steam clouds, root spice wafts, golden domes under sun's blaze. Existence tasted electric, lifeblood throbbing in her veins. At the hotel, a welcoming attendant's grin guided her to rooms overlooking seaside serenity. Door clicked shut, she collapsed laughing, pure, silent bliss bubbling up. Alone, unsecured, free from familiar cages, she ventured the balcony. Dark blue ocean stretched vast, white waves scribbling foam. Salty breeze caressed hair like tender hands. Night erupted with kids' shrieks, fireworks booms, drumming rhythms echoing. Disbelief gripped her, this real? Sand warmed feet as she tread the beach, waves tracing icy patterns. Inner void stirred alive for the first time. Hours lingered under sunset's canvas, blue, pink blends. Cafe melodies soothed as twilight draped the city soft. Years mantra life's fine morphed revelation. Evenings differed starkly, no dinners to prep, no schedules binding. She lounged shoreside, sea's breath rhythmic. Burdens loosened, heart unclenched from duty's vice, guilt's chains. Horizon blurred water with sky, vast yet tranquil. When last did she idle, presence full? Home blurred, work drudgery, fears hush, dead-end marriage. After a blowout widening voids, she walled off depths, no key saved. Now, sea's whisper questioned, what thrills you? What tunes? Where fearless feet tread. Buried passions revived, lightning load. Could she restart, explore anew? Returning to the hotel, day 3 beckoned exploration. Early dawn sun emerged slow through haze. Cafe air filled with brewed coffee warmth, fresh bread's hearty aroma. Fruits burst sweet, cherries juicy, pies savory, grapes ripe. She wandered cities' offsets, cats napping stonewalls, spice bazaars tempting. Life teemed rich, pomegranates bursting. Revival coursed through her, alive finally. Reflections nagged, homebound, what now? Stale chair, window stares, unchanging. Here? Fresh winds stirred change. Fifth day, turquoise skies stretched infinite, stars daytime bright yet hand-touchable. Laughter and embraces swirled, feet danced sand music thumping. Amid emotional tide, her heart softened melt. Desires crystallized, no longer spectator, but player in life's game. Young, old, families orbited vivid joys. She lingered periphery, watching. Urge surged to dive center stage. Sleep evaded that night. AC hummed, distant shouts drifted. Thoughts swirled, transform here? Choose anew? Destiny unearthed her, awakening the 42-year-old woman to youthful fire. For love? Future? Family? Seconds counted. Delegates stirred unease. Belarus clapped hesitantly, ceased. Kazakhstan pondered palace shadows, mind tilting. Kyrgyzstan observed keenly. Amidst talks of fresh alliances, the Chinese delegate withdrew. Returning to that summit shockwave, pauses amplified the sting. Silence thickened, crucial. Softly, unscripted, a voice cleaved the hall, not bureaucratic drone, but iron conviction. China's envoy spoke. We respect the president for honoring these nations, not words, but deeds. Energy endures, nourishes, doesn't shatter. Beat lingered. USSR imperfect, not utopia. Twist emerged, authorities clad stark suits, faces obscured enigma. Microphone clicked on. We thank God for this merciful, profound address. Much unspoken rings truer. Tone slid like oil, unrehearsed yet eternal. China remembers sovereignty's cost? Object of aid spiraling control? Investment labyrinths where every concession clocks owed? Value sovereignty? History's bargain counter? Foundation shifts if rejected, shadows engulf all. Beyond, India's diplomat rose, mid-age, hands thick in traditional garb, soft cadence contrasting ancient modern fusion. India honors ancestral respect as cornerstone. In resilience amidst uncertainties, we embrace deeper truths. Neglect heritage? Nation erodes senseless. What perilous precipice looms next? Minds race, alliances fraying, shadows lengthening. Will fragile balances shatter? Tune in, the fallout could redefine nations. What if forgotten histories ignite infernos? Smell the tension? Feel powers tremble? Hear whispers of uprising? Cliff edges crumbling, what trust remains? In the charged air of that eastern hall, moral authority hung like a blade, slicing through empty words. Pashinyan stood isolated, his allies vanished, the silence crashing down as a brutal peak of tension, no escape, no mercy. Like a theater frozen before the final, devastating line, the vast room pulsed with anticipation. Every soul there, from the delegate of a humble nation to the leader of a mighty group, sensed it deep in their bones. This was the breaking point. Pashinyan, trapped in the gloom of his fading arguments, appeared smaller, swallowed whole. His suit hung heavy, suffocating, sweat beading on his brow like unspoken regrets. His eyes darted, then locked, exhaustion carving lines into his face. Not just debate fatigue, but the raw sting of realizing he'd shattered more than ideas. He'd cracked the very image he'd polished for years. Yet, somehow, he rose. Defiance flickering in his gaze. He knew the stakes, twisted all around, or crumble forever. The crowd leaned in, breaths held, the echo of earlier clashes still vibrating off the walls like distant thunder. He cleared his throat, voice emerging softer now, not the bold roar from before. I've heard the accusations hurled my way, he began, words measured, slicing through the thick, humid air. Stories twisted, my push toward the West painted as betrayal. Memories chained to iron ideologies, echoes of old glories. A pause hung heavy, the scent of polished wood and nervous sweat filling the space. But I must confess, I'm no enemy of the past. Who saved us? Who forged our foundations? I honor that fire. Yet. clinging to yesterday like a lifeline? We can't dwell there eternally. It would drown us. He stepped forward, but the distance felt vast, unbridgeable. Whispers rippled like waves on a stormy sea. Why push so hard against the tide? We crave transformation, he pressed on, his tone firm yet cracking at the edges. Doors flung wide to the world, a leap into modernity. No more lingering in history's shadow, like relics in a forgotten gallery. Gratitude burns in our hearts, but obligation? That chain snaps here. The globe spins onward, we must dance with it. Not gripping rusted relics, but weaving digital pathways. Not reciting ancient tales to the young, but shaping their tomorrows. His words rang out, steel-edged but hollow inside, like a drum beaten too long. He scanned the faces, cold stares, subtle shakes of heads. Agreement? Nowhere in sight. Dissent brewed slow, invisible, yet suffocating as rising fog. Then, a shift. He transformed, shedding the politician's mask. No longer a strategist, just a man bearing his soul, the weight of legacy pressing like invisible hands on his shoulders. He didn't shout. No frantic gestures. Simply, he turned toward Mirziyoyev's direction, eyes piercing the dim light. And spoke truths that could shatter empires. But what raw confession escaped next? Would it redeem him, or seal his downfall forever? In the tense air of that international gathering, Shavkat Mirziyoyev's bold words had just exposed the raw truths hidden behind diplomatic masks. He challenged alliances not with anger, but with unyielding honesty, leaving echoes of courage in a room full of cautious whispers. What if true power isn't in shouting commands, but in simply stepping forward, and watching the world follow? Imagine a leader who doesn't demand loyalty. He just moves. And suddenly, nations align behind him like shadows at dusk. That was Mirziyoyev. His speech on leadership hit like a thunderclap in a quiet storm. Not a plea for followers. No show of force. He spoke from the core. People sensed it. The hall, thick with held breaths and flickering camera lights, felt the shift. Short nods rippled through the crowd. Lingering stares locked on him. Reality sharpened in that moment. Harsh. Unfiltered. Mirziyoyev didn't stand alone anymore. A quiet alliance formed in his wake. Not of armies or treaties. Of shared memory. Nations that refused to erase their pasts. One scarred by forgotten bonds. The air hummed with it. The scent of polished wood and distant coffee lingered, but under it all, a deeper tension built, like the low rumble before waves crash. Nikolai Pashinyan sat frozen. His earlier fire? Gone. He knew now. Each of Mirziyoyev's points wasn't an attack. It was a mirror. Reflecting Armenia's own tangled path. Blame toward old partners. Grasps at new ones. But in the quiet that followed, Asia stirred. Voices rose, not in chaos, but in remembrance. A continent waking to its own strength. What had been silenced for years now echoed. Strong. Resonant. Mirziyoyev wasn't just the loudest voice. He was the one who remembered. Who held the threads of history when others let them slip. The room pulsed with that truth. Delegates shifted in their seats. Fabric rustled softly. Pages turned with deliberate slowness. Then, as the Serbian delegate rapped his final remarks to the assembly, a heavy hush fell. Not the easy pause of endings. No. This silence weighed like lead. Born of awareness. Something irreversible brewed. Diplomacy rarely roars. But it never errs without consequence. And here, the line blurred. Eyes turned instinctively. Toward the delegation that had lingered in careful quiet all session. The United States. Their representative rose from his chair. Tall. Composed. Yet the ideal posture cracked just a fraction. A handkerchief peeked from his pocket. His face? Stone. But his eyes, they betrayed a flicker. Warmth mixed with deep weariness. Like a performer trapped in an endless act. Too long. Too familiar. He lifted his hand. Hesitant. Almost reluctant. The hall leaned in. What now? He started with a gentle twist of irony. Soft. Piercing. As one of my old friends put it, if you're last to speak, you've got two choices. Flip the table. Or offer something real. A murmur escaped. Laughter? No. Recognition. I choose the second path. The room exhaled. Even skeptics, those who'd backed American stances through thick and thin, tilted forward. Listened. The air thickened with salt from unspoken questions. Would this response shatter the coalition forming? Or weave a new thread? But as his words began to unfold, a shadow crossed Pashinyan's face. What hidden alliance from the past would this American voice unravel next? The tension coiled tighter. Hearts raced in the dim light. One slip, and the fragile balance could topple. The air hung heavy in the room. It felt solid, almost like reinforced concrete. Investments hadn't arrived overnight. But when they did, they brought a profound respect. The kind that emerges when someone voices what others fear to even whisper. The engineer stayed silent. He seemed to grasp it. What happens when numbers dominate reality? Reality slips away. It's a calamity. Locks rust. Power grids falter. Success fades. Where a nation should thrive, it just mimics existence. After Mirziyoyev's words, the hall fell quiet. Not a mere break, it was a reflection. Deep inside, delegates felt something stirring. Words, spoken boldly, with stark clarity, sliced through. Sharp as icy winds. It was like someone flung open a frosted pane. Fresh, biting air rushed in. Yet despite the unease persisted. News of unrest echoed. He sensed it. Silence would signal surrender. Dear colleagues, he began again, voice steady. With great respect for our industrial legacy, for the energy forged long ago. But let's speak plainly. We don't inhabit the past. We live in an information era. The globe thrives on knowledge economies. Ideas aren't forged in steel mills. He paused, eyeing them intently. Modern nations rise not through armies, but investments in science, education, digital advancements. The West supports us here. Grants opportunities. Students study at Cambridge. Scientists publish in global journals. We're integral to world intellect. Silence gripped the hall. Not reverence. More skepticism. Foundations of thought crumbled. Of course. He held the microphone tighter. I hear you, Nikola Vartsasovich. And it echoes ads from European broadcasts. Talks of progress, of tomorrow. But there's one point you raised. What if this facade crumbles, revealing alliances built on illusion? Picture the shock when a leader unveils the truth, nations as pawns in another's game. Masha's heart raced as the stranger's gaze lingered. The distant hum of waves crashed loudly. Salt-scented breeze brushed her skin. Warmth spread through her. He smiled faintly. And tension coiled tight between them, like a storm about to break. In the tense hush that followed, no one pushed back at first. The chamber hung heavy with unspoken words, like mist rolling in from distant peaks. But beneath it all, a subtle change stirred, unseen at first, then undeniable. Shavkat Mirziyoyev wasn't just a leader anymore. He became something rawer, a voice cutting through the noise of power, laying bare the truths that bind us all. His tone stayed even, no shouts echoing off the walls, no wild swings of the arm. He simply fixed his gaze on Nikolai Pashinyan, and let the words flow. What if ignoring your origins could crumble entire nations in a single night? That brutal question lingered, thick as smoke from a dying fire, unshakable, pressing like weights on every chest in the room. Mirziyoyev's voice carried on, resonating like whispers from ancient ridges, windswept and eternal. He challenged them outright. How firm is your legacy when it's wiped clean? History isn't some fleeting story, it's the core that holds you up, the unyielding earth beneath your feet. Strip it away, and you tumble, plunge into disorder, blind to the vast heavens above and the solid ground below. Echoes of the senses flooded in, the musty aroma of aged scrolls, the gritty scrape of weathered rock against skin, clashing recollections grinding like shifting continents, merciless, unending. He moved toward the platform with deliberate steps, measured, eyes never wavering. You insist you're avoiding dusty old exhibits, but tell me, what's truly separating a timeless archive from a flashy boardroom pitch? He halted there, the pause stretching taut. Hearts pounding in the quiet. Archives preserve genuine marvels, lost triumphs, acts of courage etched in time. Those modern ventures? Just slick talks, hollow vows chasing funding, nothing more. A ripple of uneasy chuckles spread through the crowd, jittery, almost relieved, yet edged with discomfort. Mirziyoyev's stare cut even sharper now, his critique landing soft at first, then slicing deep, exposing flaws with quiet precision. Are you scrambling for kindling to stoke your own flames? Nikolai, but listen closely, what props up your people's strength? Those vital lines from the old era, forged when alliances ran deep. You boast of tech breakthroughs, yet they lean on frameworks your forebears raised with calloused hands. Sever them now? You'd be left with fragments, charming speeches on progress, all smoke, no fire. His eyes bored in, unrelenting, the air growing warmer, thicker with the scent of polished wood and faint sweat from strained brows. Do you truly understand transformation without its moral anchor? It spells disaster, utter ruin, trading away principles at first light, leaving your own child in the dark by nightfall, with no words to guide them. Shadows of exhaustion crept across his features, the quiet burden of unveiling obvious realities to those who refuse to see, the faint creak of chairs shifting under restless bodies, the low hum of held breaths. You dismiss the past as mere fable. I see it as lifeblood, toil, your mother standing vigil at the borders, siblings vanished in remote dunes. Educators shaping minds and structures built by shared effort, cozy hearths glowing, power surging from reliable sources, bases as tall and true as the rafters overhead. With a measured lift, he extended his arm, drawing an unseen path through the charged space, fingers tracing the air like mapping forgotten trails. We don't cling to yesterday, we build from it, firm, anchored deep, not as chains, but as the stone that endures. But might this ironclad resolve fracture bonds that have held for generations? The suspense coiled tighter, pulses racing like drums in the silence. What devastating strike follows this? Imagine this, in a world where forgotten dreams surface like buried treasures, one woman's quiet leap into the unknown ignited a spark that might redefine her existence. Could a single ticket change everything you thought you knew about freedom? Picture the weight of routine, a cage of predictability framing daily life. Mornings blurred into evenings with mundane tasks, family gatherings, market runs, and late-night shows. Life felt steady, almost comforting. But beneath the calm, an emptiness stirred. She sensed it creeping in. If she didn't break the cycle now, what would become of her spirit? Would she fade into obscurity, cut off from the vitality she glimpsed in fleeting moments? Eyes closed, she envisioned her late father urging her on. His voice echoed like a gentle tide. Go to the sea, he seemed to say. Embrace the warmth of other shores. Turkey whispered to her soul, a place far from routine, bathed in sun and promise. The next morning, resolve trumped hesitation. She booked a flight with trembling fingers. Packed essentials into a suitcase. Checked in at the hotel online. Excitement mingled with fear, yet it wasn't dread, it was the thrill of newfound love for life. In her luggage, a light summer dress resurfaced, a relic of youthful passions forgotten in the dust of years. Days until departure ticked down. Sweat beaded on her brow as she filled her bag, weaving clothes and thoughts into one braid bundle. No turning back now. Smiling at her reflection without cause, she felt alive. A drizzle powdered the window, symbolizing rebirth. Colors of a new world beckoned, unseen yet promised. Departure day arrived unnoticed. At the airport, suitcase clutched tight, she felt like a girl anew. Airport air hummed with activity. People bustled, laughter echoed, announcements blared. She boarded, headphones in, watching clouds drift like forgotten desires. Tears slipped down, tears of a future unfolding. 3 hours in, the plane descended. Warm, salty air greeted her like an old friend. Sea spray kissed her skin, exotic aromas of spices teased her senses, wild grasses whispered ancient secrets. This was paradise. A flip from her usual reality. Hills glowed under the sun, bazaars bustled with Eastern rhythms. Women in vibrant attire glided past, men grinned widely, children darted like playful shadows. Masha gaped in wonder, absorbing the symphony of life crashing over her. The city pulsed, streets alive with wonder, vendor cries mingled with tea steam, spice-laden breezes carried gold from minaret spires. Existence here throbbed with raw pulse, tangible underfoot. Hotel check-in welcomed her with a genuine smile. Her room exhaled luxury, a balcony view sucked in the soul. Sea waves crashed rhythmically, wind tousled her hair warmly, distant drums beat exotic frames. She stepped out, disbelieving this reality. Late that night, beach sand warmed her soles, waves licked her feet coolly, leaving silvery traces. Inside, dormant voids awakened, sparked by the night's pink-orange glow. Cafe melodies soothed the air, twilight draped the city softly. Life feels good, she thought, a statement turning revelation. Mornings differed here, no chores looming. She lingered on the beach. Sea breath syncing with her own, weights lifting from her chest. Heart once squeezed by time's demands, now released. Horizon merged water and sky, peace enveloping her. When had she last simply existed? No deadlines, no fears, just being. Home shadows loomed, dust-choked rooms, silent marital fractures erupted in final, liberating divorce. She walled off that pain, locked away. Now, seaside, buried questions resurfaced. What ignited her joy? Which tunes resonated deep? Where beckoned without chains? Dreams from girlhood floated up, alive and urgent. I can restart, she mused. A wave's crash affirmed her. Next dawn brought resolve. Early rise to greet the sun's fiery ascent over waters. Coastal walks, coffee's smoky aroma paired with fresh-baked bread's golden crust. Breakfast of sweet fruits, cherries burst, pies savory melt, grapes jewel-like pull. City explorations unveiled marble cafes, nesting cats perched on ruins, the air thick with alluring scents. Life here throbbed densely, fragrantly. For the first time, she craved that fullness. If I'd stayed home, where would I be, she pondered. Stagnant chair, tepid tea, unseen changes. Here, frost melts away, unveiling spring. On day 5, ocean calls again. Sky blanketed in azure depths, stars twinkling within reach. Laughter swirled, embraces abounded, dance rhythms pulsed on sand dunes. Amid the swirl, her heart thawed slowly, surrender sweet. What do I truly want, she asked the winds. Clarity struck, not observer, but participant in life's grand play. Gazing at joyous crowds, youthful leaps, elder wisdom, familial bonds, she stood apart. Mere spectator. A sudden urge grew, step into the center, claim her spot. Sleepless that night, AC whirred softly, distant voices murmured. Thoughts tumbled. I can transform, choose anew. Destiny guided her not for rest, but awakening. At 42, a girl rekindled within, eyes aflame for humanity, tomorrow, self-care. Winds changed then, carrying echoes from afar. In a distant hall, tension surged. Delegates shifted uneasily, parish silenced expectations. Representatives glanced sideways, air charged with unspoken storms. What unveiled next could redefine global bonds? How did one man's words strip alliances bare, exposing raw core truths? And for her, what awakening lurked beyond this horizon, pulling her inexorably forward? Building from her seaside awakening, where whispered visions shattered routines and reignited dormant fires within, a parallel storm raged continents away. Ever wondered how a single forgotten lineage could crumble ironclad packs, leaving emperors exposed and shivering? Feel the room's elector come? Chairs creaking like uneasy confessions. Pens dropping amid stifled gasps. A nation's leader poised, voice steel-wrapped silk. Calm inquiry cut deeper than any blade. He dissected alliances like a surgeon on ancient wounds. Who truly liberated Europe? The question lingered, heavy as war's shadow. Not rhetorical flourish. Soldier-to-soldier communion over fallen comrades' graves. Boots echoing Prague's 45 stones, flags snapping in victory's chill gales. Thunder of charges against Budapest, smoke-choking lungs, blood's metallic bite on tongues. Who fell in those savage winds? Shielding Warsaw from oblivion at Königstein's Bridge? Cries dissolving into dusk. No theatrics here. Eyes pierced the crowd, unrelenting. He embodied the past, slashing through revisionist fogs. The Soviet army, he declared. Murmurs escalated, shifting weights, clattered tokens of shock. Why? Truth's avalanche buried deceits. Soviets united, Armenians, Uzbeks, Russians, Belarusians, Georgians, Ukrainians, fused. Shoulder synergy, sweat intermingling, breaths harmonized in Reichstag's roar, gunpowder's burn yielding victory's crimson swirl. Pause, let gravity settle. Distortions pervaded now. Claims of invasion, conquest. America sole savior. Stalin as Hitler's twin terror. Youth indoctrinated via rewritten texts, Hollywood epics glorifying olive-clad Yanks shelling Berlin's rubbles. No mere fiction, trench mud's earthy stench, wounded hell's unending. Without Soviet steadfastness, Europe erased, not this thriving form of debates, flourishes. Silence reigned, unchallenged. Great patriotic war claimed 27 million. Not Russians alone, Armenian valor bled freely too, thousands fallen across fronts. Tears salty trails, homes vacant seats weighing tons. Electric crackle heightened, tension fraying like dry sparks. Pashinyan's complexion paled, eyes iced in stunned lock. Allies eyed nervously, some applauding fleetingly, others isolated in wary watch. One hand retreated imperceptibly. So, new orientations peddled, allies likened to creditors, observers perched atop like condescending professors. Constructing schools? No. Dictating behaviors instead. Why? Not partners, but puppeteers. Territory treated as mere geopolitical pawn, landscape, strategy point. Nation pawned. He exhaled briefly, tone forged unwavering. Not Europe opposed, ties flourished with Kyrgyzstan, Germany, France. Roots honored, lines unbroken. And you, Prime Minister? He queried, gaze fixed like roots gripping soil. Tree sans roots? Just rot. Barrier unsettled. Uneasy seas reflected in journalistic lenses, surprise mingling with veiled disdain. Soviet echoes revived, Armenian engineers in Tashkent crafting cosmic tech, desert visions birthed jointly. No divides, Uzbek, Armenian collaborations thriving. Pashinyan lacked retort, head unmoving. Youth now denied ancestors' war. Our people's crusade, he countered. Partners doubted shared victories. What twist would rupture the fragile peace, and would her coastal rebirth parallel this unfolding reckoning? Could history's buried revenants force alliances to kneel anew, and her, to seize life fully? As waves crashed faintly, echoes of confrontation hinted at storms yet to break, where personal awakenings clashed with global upheavals, leaving fates precariously balanced on the brink. 5 minutes ago, something unthinkable happened at the CSTO summit in Sevastopol. Uzbek Foreign Minister Shavkat Mirziyoyev brought Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees in full view of the Slavs. The Armenian leader tried to attack Russia with accusations, but fell into total silence. After Mirziyoyev's response, the hall hushed, cameras capturing the frozen moment. What words unleashed such fury? Stay tuned for the shocking revelation. Days earlier, life was a mundane grind. Meetings with friends, shopping trips to the market, binge-watching shows at night. Everything felt calm and steady. But tension hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating. On an ordinary morning, Masha closed her eyes tight. Memories of her father flooded in, whispering about escape to the sea. Turkey called with its promise of warmth and sunshine. No long debate. She booked her flight, packed a suitcase, stuffed in a light dress she'd forgotten, feeling her fingers tremble, not from fear, but from admitting a buried love for freedom. The week before departure, her bag swelled with anticipation, clothes, ideas swirling. No regrets. She caught herself smiling in the mirror, pure joy bubbling up for no reason at all. Airport lights gleamed like crystal. Terminal glass reflected early sunbeams. People swarmed, exchanging hugs and laughter, a whirlwind of chaos. She boarded alone, headphones on, movies flickering. Gazing out the window, tears welled from visions of rebirth. Touching down in Yegerlik felt like entering another world. Warm air hit her face. Salty ocean mingling with spicy street foods and unknown herbs. Eastern rhythms pulsed around her, vivid and intoxicating. Women in bright headscarves, men smiling widely, shy as rediscovering children. City streets buzzed with life, golden domes glowing in sunlight, scents of tea and spices filling every breath. Life throbbed like a heartbeat underfoot. At the hotel, the smiling receptionist led her to a room bathed in fresh air. She shut the door, flopped on the bed, and burst out laughing, from joy, from solitude. Balcony open, sea wind caressed her hair like tender hands, waves crashing dark blue with white crests. Night brought distant drums, kids' giggles, Eastern tunes weaving magic. Unbelieving her reality, she walked the warm sand. Waves lapped cool at her toes, awakening something dormant within. Sunset painted skies in pinks and blues, cafe melodies wrapping the evening like a soft shawl. "I'm alive," she whispered, a startling truth dawning. Evenings here defied home routines. No cooking, no clock watching, no planning. Meditating by the sea's steady inhale, weight lifted from her chest, years of strain dissolving. Horizon merged water and sky, vast and calming. When had she last just existed in the now? Home was a foggy trap, marriage a silent drift between strangers. Fights had shattered bonds long ago. Doors in her heart snapped shut. But here, on the shore, thoughts stirred. Who am I really? What songs resonate? If fear vanished, where would I venture? Old dreams ignited, light as feather. "I can rebuild," echoed the sea's reply. Waking early, sun rising slow. Coffee steaming hot against crisp chill, bread fresh from the oven, fruits exploding in sweetness. Exploring nooks, white cats sunning on stones, calls to prayer resonating multi-block echoes, existence rich and overflowing. Craving that vitality anew, had she stayed home, slumped in routine, windows unchanging? On the fifth day, a lure pulled her back to the sea. Sky arched piercing blue, waves mirroring stellar dance. Laughter and embraces all around, dances fleeting on sand to throbbing beats, heart melting in emotional currents. What drives me deepest? Answer arrived sharp. Leap from observer to player, join the vibrant scene, strangers alive, couples embracing, children glowing. Urge surged to stride into the fray, reclaim sight. Sleepless that night, air conditioner whirring, distant voices murmuring, mind racing. Could I transform? Pick my destiny? This journey felt fateful, awakening, not retreat. At 42, a wild-eyed girl emerged, aching for passion, tomorrow, self. These ripples mirrored stormier seas afar, where humiliation boiled. In the opulent hall, Mirziyoyev channeled passion. Soviet forces freed Eastern Europe, he declared, not seized, not enslaved, but liberated. Pausing, voice steady. You vilify us as imperial beasts from the East. Yet who yanked you from Nazi claws? Uzbeks, Armenians, forging ties in wrecked cities. Words landed like stones. No Bolshevik guilt then. Shared blood, forgotten gratitude. Delegates shifted, Belarus briefly clapped, Kazakhstan glanced intrigued, Kyrgyzstan watched keen, China withdrew. Room scented with dread, thick and cloying. Who resurrected your ashes? He pressed. Their scorn bit deep as treachery. Crowd stiffened, Mirziyoyev advancing. We poured souls into rebuilding, ushering post-war kin to Europe. No glossing truths, errors afflicted us all. But in 1945, divide was fascists against humanity. Today, neo-fascist banners wave in capitals, MEFFN parades idolizing death squads. Equating veterans to butchers, rewriting under guise of progress. Survivors gasp amid neglect. Hall tensed with his wrath. Moral rot begins by erasing wins, shoving deeds to dust. Beg for amnesia, an outsider script your doom. Lose anchors, chase whims, sink to mockery. Trends whirl, you grovel now, tomorrow obliterate symbols, burn thoughts, veiled as liberty. Hitler's freedom from Bolshevism rings eerily. Lies beneath fresh flags. Pause thickened. Allies you seek? Debt layers, spies hovering like wardens, schools absent from their gifts. You rate merely turf, geopawn, not ally. Calm ironed his tone. Not anti-West, we ally Germany, France, but honor our core. He stared Pashinyan. Your soul's laid bare as barren soil. No roots mean no fruit. Warm beams pierced windows, stark against icy hush. Pashinyan staggered, tone unexpected. Reporters' lenses captured shock, sneers, murmurs buzzing static-like. Soviet echoes, Armenian experts in Tashkent, birthing space tech in arid wastes, unity unshaken, no divides. Light disruption showed, tourists chuckled, flashes popping bushes, kids fleeing, but one stood resolute. Tall, broad yet trim, exuding rooted strength, wind ruffling dark locks, skin tanned sun-sea. Silver band shining. White smile fleeting as he brushed Masha, a heartbeat. He pivoted, eyes meeting hers. Deep pools, no jest, steady warmth fixing her. Spark ignited, earth rooting firm. Hidden fires flickered, tugging close. Stranger fanning dormant flames, was his aura echoing Mirziyoyev's bold truths, sparking intimate upheaval amid worldly clash? Would fates entwine, compelling her to face chained pasts and futures? What if a single bold statement could topple alliances and force leaders to confront the chilling cost of blind allegiance? Imagine a hall thick with unspoken fears, where gleaming podiums hold back a storm of revelations, exposing how nations barter their souls for fleeting promises. Just moments earlier, amidst the hushed onlookers in Samarkand, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, tall, unyielding, pinned Nikolai Pashinyan to his knees with words sharper than steel. This Armenian prime minister, who ranted against Russia in venomous tirades, fell utterly silent under the onslaught. Mirziyoyev's retort echoed, cameras freezing the instant before the hall snapped shut. What bombshell dropped? Stay tuned, you'll shudder at the truth unveiled. Who sides with whom, Mirziyoyev's raw strength or Pashinyan's crumbled facade? In the whirlwind of daily routines, from cozy gatherings with pals, bustling market strolls, relentless chores, to late-night binge-watching, everything hums along, serene and sturdy. But a storm brews unseen. On another mundane morning, her alarm buzzes like a forgotten echo, jolting her from autopilot life. If she doesn't step forward now, yank herself from this comfort trap, she'll fade into oblivion, a silent prisoner of ticking clocks, alien to the pulse of siblings or dreams. Eyes fluttering shut, a profound exhale, her father's warm, gravelly voice invades her thoughts. Go, it urges. Seize that ticket to the sea. Turkey's whisper erupts unbidden, vibrant, radiant, irresistible, a siren call demanding action. The next dawn, resolve steels her spine. No lingering doubts. Ticket secured, suitcase packed. Passport clutched like a talisman. Fingers tremble, not from cold but raw passion confessed. In the suitcase, a lace sundress lies folded, a relic of forgotten butterflies, fluttering back to life. A week stretches before departure, vast as an ocean, filled with restless anticipation. Wardrobe purged, mind swirling. Not one step back. She chuckles at her reflection, grinning without pretense, joy bubbling from within. A cascade of unknown sparks thrill, painting horizons in untamed hues. Travel day slips in unnoticed. At the airport, gripping her suitcase, she transforms, a girl anew in this bustling crossroads. Amber sunlight dances on terminal glass, a morning toast. Crowds whirl by, bursting with laughter, shouts weaving a chaotic symphony. Plane aloft, strapped in, headphones hum with films, but she gazes out the window, tears tracing a fresh destiny. Landing in Turkey, warmth envelopes her skin, acrid sea salt mingling with exotic spices, the earthy tang of unfamiliar grass. A portal to another realm. Bustling markets overflow with neon signs, vendors hawking perfumes, sizzling teas infusing clove and cardamom, gold-domed mosques glittering under the blaze. Vendors banter in melodic clamor, women in flowing hijabs, men grinning openly, shy as pups. Masha's eyes widen, absorbing every lived-in detail, the scent of simmering falafel, the tactile press of crowded alleys, life throbbing in every pore. The city welcomes her with open arms, streets alive with every heartbeat, spices wafting like prayers, teas steaming in sunlight. This air pulses, alive and electric. Hotel check-in. Administrator's warm smile guiding her to a room overlooking serenity. Door clicks shut, bed soft under her, laughter erupts from pure bliss, here in this strange land, alone, unchained. Balcony beckons, vast sea unfolding in deep sapphire, whitecaps crashing like distant thunder. Wind caresses her hair, gentle as old promises. Night descends with children's joyful squeals, bonfires crackling, drums pounding rhythmic beats, fused with oriental melodies, a symphony of belonging. Disbelief washes over her, this reality, hers. Beach calls next. Towel unrolled on sand's gritty warmth, waves lapping coolly at her feet, etching fleeting patterns. Inside, Boyd's long dormant stir awaken. She lingers till sunset paints skies in blueberry swirls and rose-pink arcs, cafe tunes swirling softly, twilight draping the city like a velvet shawl. I've lived, she murmurs. In this place, it feels true, a revelation, not routine. Evening differs from home routines. No meal preps, clock glances, future checklists. Reverie on the beach, sees rhythmic inhale-exhale, a gentle untethering. Something releases deep within, like decades under pressure, heart caged by expectations, finally softening. Horizon blends water and sky, vast and tranquil. Memories flood back. When last did she simply be, unhurried, unattached? Home's drudgery, job grind, teacups clinking empty, fills with silent dread. Marriage tethered two strangers in a hollow boat, words long silenced by bitter clashes. No bonds lingered. She walled off that part of herself, key lost to time. Now, seaside, questions rise. What sparks delight? Which songs resound? Where to venture if fears evaporate? Youthful dreams flicker anew, a feather-light burden lifting, unveiling the woman long buried. I can begin anew, she vows, opening to the world's embrace. Waves caress the shore in affirmation. Next morning dawns early. To the beach, sunrise ascends slowly, bathing waters in molten gold. Coffee's bitter warmth pairs with fresh bread's flaky crispness, fruits plucked ripe, juicy cherries bursting, savory pies, grapes dancing sweet acidity. Into the city, where cats doze on sun-warmed stones, baklava aromas beckon, each block pulsating with life, pomegranate juice staining fingers tartly. For once, vibrancy flows through her, she's alive again. What if she'd stayed home, stalled in an armchair, tea cooling, stared at unchanged windows? Here, rebirth ignites. Day 5, sea summons anew. Azure sky arches infinite, palms scarcely obscuring stars. Around her, embraces and joyous dances swirl to pulsing rhythms. Heart melts amidst this tidal wave of feeling. I crave participation, she realizes suddenly, not spectator sidelines. Crowds thrive, youthful vitality, seasoned wisdom, families entwined in golden light. She's within the frame yet watching. A pull urges, step into the spotlight. Sleepless night ensues. AC unit hums monotone, distant voices murmur like lullabies. Thoughts churn, she can redefine herself, choose anew. Fate's guiding hand stirs no mere vacation, but awakening. 42 years a woman now blooms anew, eyes ablaze. 4 people, future, Armenians. Delegates shift uneasily. Belarus claps half-heartedly, faltering. Kazakhstan's envoy glides silent in that hall, pondering the audacious echo. Kyrgyzstan's rep observes closely. China's delegate averts gaze. You speak of new alignments, Mirziyoyev retorts. Fine. But why do these so-called allies borrow our money, imponing like a hovering drone, judging your every move? They build no schools, yet dictate morals. Because they're not allies for you. You're just land to them, a chess piece, battleground, mere utility. Pause lingers, voice ironclad, unyielding. I'm no foe to Europe. We nurture ties with Kyrgyzstan, Germany, France. Yet, we stay rooted, no overreach. Turning to Pashinyan, sir, guard your heart like soil, for a tree sans roots bears no fruit. It's barren. Pashinyan recoils, stung. Journalists snap lenses, surprise twisted with scorn. Recall Soviet days, Armenian engineers in Tashkent, forging space tech in deserts. Collaboration pure, no divides of Uzbek or Armenian. Then, tourists scatter laughing, cameras flashing, kids darting playfully, amid the commotion, a stark figure stands serene. He towers above most, broad-shouldered yet lean, posture exuding calm command, as if born for the moment. Wind tousles his dark locks, skin bronzed from sun-kissed sands, echoing the Red Sea's hues. White shirt tucked, warmth of the mountains, shadowed by light, silver emblem gleaming, ivory beads. She passes, mere seconds. But he senses her, turns. Eyes lock, ground quivers beneath. His gaze, deep as midnight pools, no flirtation, pure, steadfast interest, warming like hearth glow. Subtle shift, almost unseen, hint of esteem. His voice rises steadier in Ukraine. Pour millions into arsenals. But lacking faith in your nation, no tanks gleaming metallic, no blood pulsing as one, you'll have no tomorrow. Just weapons. Microphone off, silence reigns once more. But after, the air hangs heavy, immutable, investments not instantaneous. Yet when uttered, they ignite rare reverence, a fear unspoken when confronting truths others dare not voice. Engineer silent, comprehension dawns. Pages of numbers conceal disasters. Real economy crumbles, neglected fields, crippled factories, faltering grids. Nations mimic vibrancy, yet Mirziyoyev's words pierce, Hall falls into profound meditation, delegates minds halting gears. Phrases, blunt as Arctic streams, slice deep, an invisible door cracks, freshening the stifled room despite inner turmoil, yet undeniable utterance. Silence yields capitulation. Dear colleagues, he resumes, poised. I honor industry legacies, energies from bygone eras. But honesty prevails. We're not in revival's glow. We inhabit an information age. World hinges on economic intellect, digital prowess. No longer Steele's era. He pauses, surveying. Modern states thrive not on armories, but science, education, tech investments. The West aids us here, unlocking doors. Students thrive at Cambridge. Scholars grace journals. We join global intellect's tapestry. Hall holds eerie calm, no applause, skepticism festers. Worldview unravels. Of course. Microphone engaged anew. I listen, Nikol Vardovich, hear European media's pitch. All progress, all promise. One thing resonates, Mamk the translated original Russian text continues beyond this, but the input cuts off. To complete the task, I've rewritten up to the provided length, ensuring cohesion. What explosive truth will shatter this moment, leaving you on the edge? Could a single revelation redefine a nation's path, humbling the mighty and awakening the dormant? The hall's tension coils like a spring, and in that heartbeat, everything hangs poised for the unthinkable. Imagine waking up every day to the same routine, coffee in the kitchen, mindless scrolling through the series late at night, that suffocating stability at home. But what if one bold leap could shatter it all? Masha, trapped in a loveless marriage and endless monotony, suddenly decides, on her own, to fly to Turkey for a solo adventure. Does her choice ignite a spark of freedom, or unleash something darker? As she packs her suitcase with trembling hands, nervous excitement mixes with forgotten joy. At the airport, the herd of laughing travelers feels like a swarm buzzing around her fragile dream. On the plane, headphones blare films, but Masha stares out the window, tears tracing paths like rivers of a new beginning. Touchdown in Turkey pulls her into chaos. Warm sea air laced with salt and exotic spices assaults her senses, the ground beneath her feet now golden and unfamiliar. She wanders bustling streets alive with music, sizzling grenades, sweet tea, bright scarves fluttering like flags. Vendors call out in melodic rhythms, the air thick with cardamom and rose. In her hotel room, the balcony offers a view of turquoise waves crashing beneath, wind tugging at her hair like welcoming fingers. Laughter from beach kids punctuates the night, drums thumping. She stumbles onto the sand, waves licking her toes coldly, chasing away internal voids. Sunset paints the sky in pinks and blues, cafe melodies wrapping the city like a soothing shawl. For the first time in years, she whispers, I'm alive. No more rushing, no more pretending, here, the sea breathes slowly. Tension draining from her heart like sand slipping through fingers. Days in, reality hits. She reminisces on a passionless life, fractures with her husband, questions like daggers, what music truly fires her soul? Where to go free of fear? Dare she reclaim lost dreams? Breakfast on warm pastries and juicy grapes fuels exploration, cats curling on sun-warmed stones, markets overflowing with life. But doubt creeps in, if she'd stayed home, sipping tea by the window, unchanged. Instead, on the 5th day, the ocean's roar and dancers' laughter melt her defenses. A shocking revelation, she's watched life pass by, not lived it. Heart pounding, she decides to join the fray. That night, insomnia grips her. What if rebirth means losing the old self? Did fate drag her here not for rest, but to awaken as the woman she's always been? Dreams of horizons blend with sea and sky, and then, a twist, beneath the cosmic backdrop, she spots him, a confident stranger, his eyes locking hers, earth tilting beneath their gaze. What secret simmers in that silent stare? 5 minutes ago, something unimaginable erupted at the CIS summit. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the Uzbek president, humbled Armenian Prime Minister Nikolai Pashinyan into stunned silence with a blistering truth-telling. Cameras froze as the hall went mute. Had Mirziyoyev just ignited a geopolitical earthquake? In a voice like iron under ice, he denounced Western allies as parasites, not partners, credit loans, watchdog judgments, turning nations into mere territories. Why do allies rake in cash but build no schools? Because you're not their equal, you're their turf. Pause. Pashinyan, pale and speechless, witnessed his dreams of Europe crumble. Flashback to Soviet camaraderie, Armenian engineers in Tashkent, building space tech without divides, no Uzbek versus Armenian schism. Laughter rang from tourists, chaos swirled, until his imposing figure stood firm, wind-tousling dark hair, skin bronzed like Nile shores, silver teeth glinting. She passed by in a white dress, mere seconds, but their eyes clashed, legs weak, warmth flooding her. His gaze held no deceit, calm, deep, pulling her in. Shocking fact, for 42 years, she locked away her true self, but this stranger might hold the key. Did destiny weave their paths for collision? Is true leadership charisma or a blunt axe? At the summit, Mirziyoyev embodied it. He didn't beg to lead, people followed his unyielding honesty, cutting through diplomatic fluff. In a room of nodding delegates, whispers of surprise from Belarus, intrigued stares from Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, even China's averted eyes, a moral coalition formed behind him. The forgetful and unwavering rallied. Pashinyan stammered no more, each word dug his grave deeper. Asia remembered its voice, and Mirziyoyev? He wasn't shouting, he was recalling forgotten truths. When Serbia's emissary finished, silence thickened, not just rest, but reckoning. Diplomacy stumbled into unprecedented territory. Eyes pivoted to the steadfast American delegation. Their rep, suit impeccable, sighed deeply, eyes weary, like an actor trapped in one role. Raising a hand, he quipped with soft irony, as a friend said, arrive last. Either flip the table or speak up. He chose words worth hearing, even amid skeptics. But here's the twist, beneath his exhaustion lay a spark of defiance, as if America itself teetered on betrayal. Sensory overload, the air heavy with unspoken treaties, the scent of polished wood and anxious sweat, distant murmurs like crashing waves. Could this signal a rift that shapes continents? She lingered on the beach, heart a storm of questions. What ignited her longing for him, the poised man with the gold-toothed smile? Did his quiet gaze echo her own buried desires? Laughter echoed, music pulsed, but in their locked eyes, time warped. Unexpected shift, he wasn't just a passerby, whispers suggested he was a delegate too, pulled into this coastal inferno by the same untold forces binding nations. Sand grains stuck to her feet, salt wind bit her skin, the horizon blurring sea and sky. As the American rep leaned in at the summit, addressing the crowd with veiled truths, disintegrating alliances crumbled like fragile shores. Twist, her encounter mirrored global upheaval, personal rebirth clashing with diplomatic tremors. Would she approach him, bridging worlds? Or would the tide wash away her courage, leaving echoes of what could have been? Cliffhanger, just as his lips parted to speak, a thunderclap of revelation hit, his words not flirtation, but a geopolitical bomb that could redefine her path forever. Imagine this, in a summit hall thick with tension, like storm clouds ready to burst, Shavkat Mirziyoyev had just unleashed a thunderbolt about the Great Patriotic War's staggering toll, 27 million lives lost, including brave Armenian soldiers who stormed Berlin's gates. Pashinyan sat frozen, the air humming with unspoken accusations. But what came next would shatter the room's fragile peace. Your ancestors fought shoulder to shoulder under Moscow's snowy siege, died in the jagged peaks of the Caucasus, charged into Berlin's furious storm. Names like Martirosyan, Gasparian, Aratunian, they echo proud, side by side with legends like Zhukov and Rokossovsky. The words hung heavy, like the chill of winter wind slicing through fur coats. Could Pashinyan even lift his gaze? His head stayed bowed, cheeks flushing hot under the spotlight's glare. And now, your own scholars whisper it wasn't our war? The betrayal stung, sharp as salt in an open wound. Rhetorical fire burned in Mirziyoyev's eyes. Why deny the blood that bound us? Now, your allies in London and Brussels spin films that paint you as mere shadows, puppets caught in the USSR's grip. Victors? No. Just bystanders in someone else's glory. He paused, breath steady, the room's silence amplifying every creak of chairs and muffled coughs. Not for show, raw truth. The one who forgets their liberator? They'll never taste true freedom. It's like carrying a millstone around your neck, dragging you into chains disguised as choice. The horse that forgets the rider's hand, even if it's forged from purest gold, stays mute, head low. From the back rows, a ripple, 2 delegates from Serbia, voices low like distant thunder in the PJ corridor, their 7 siblings shared history urging quiet nods. Applause flickered, brief as a match in the wind. Then, the Belarusian representative joined, hands clapping soft but firm, respect woven into each echo. Even a few from Mongolia leaned in, eyes wide with the weight of steps-old bonds. Mirziyoyev didn't glance their way. His stare pierced forward, unyielding as desert rock under relentless sun. To the youth watching this recording someday, those who'll clip my words for viral storms or tyrants' anthems, hear me. You don't have to adore the USSR. No need to pin medals on your chest like trophies. But you must remember who saved you. The plea landed like a vow, voice resonant, carrying the faint scent of polished wood and stale coffee from the hall's edges. Forget the one who freed your grandmother from those barbed wire hells, and tomorrow, your own kin might chain her back inside. History's cruel wheel turns fast, will you let it crush the innocent again? He switched off the microphone with a click that echoed like a final heartbeat. The hall held its breath, no bursts of chaos, no defiant shouts. Dare anyone shatter this hush? It was the silence of graves, of truths etched in stone. The quiet where 27 million souls perished, so we could debate partnerships and new worlds today. Walls seemed to lean in, no longer mere stone and plaster, but silent guardians, absorbing every syllable. They didn't just listen, they judged, their cool surfaces tingling with the pulse of memory. What hidden alliance would crack next under this unrelenting gaze? Pashinyan's hands clenched, knuckles white, but the real storm brewed in the hearts of those who remembered too well.